Chapter 988. Dandinga. You're too awesome. 3 pieces, 3 pieces. Can we be friends? I'm an elite disciple of the Chaos Academy. Hello, can we get to know each other? This time, when Dandinga was fusing the magic treasures, countless experts rushed to the shop where Qianhao was at the fastest speed. Powerful geniuses and gorgeously dressed beauties all threw out olive branches, wanting to befriend him. However, from the beginning to the end, Dandinga did not say a word, nor did he have any intention of revealing his true appearance. After fusing the magic treasures, he once again turned into a stream of light in the face of the probing of many divine senses. Sensational? Other than Wen Tanlan, he believed that no one could determine it was him from his aura. Moreover, so what if they knew it was him? He did not care. He wanted everything that could improve his strength. He wanted to use all the methods that could improve his strength. This was his greatest obsession now, his only obsession, an obsession that could throw away all other obsessions. On this day, the entire immortal scripture city was destined to explode, and it was destined to become a legend in the entire chaotic, boundless world. Every 20 minutes or so, one would appear, stimulating the nerves of all the cultivators to become numb. When Qianhao obtained the 30th piece and was about to continue, Qianhao's figure paused slightly. A voice seemed to pass through time and space and floated into his mind. Little guy, you can't be too greedy. The immortal scripture magic treasures are condensed by everyone in the immortal scripture sacred ground, including the old man, over many years and months. They are given to the disciples of the chaotic boundless world to try their luck and comprehend the immortal scripture. 32 pieces are quite a lot. Qianhao was shocked in his heart, and then came to a sudden understanding. Since the other party said 32 pieces, it was obvious that he knew his true identity. After all, this was an opportunity set up by the other party. It would be strange if he did not know. It was just that Qianhao did not expect the other party to interfere. However, what the voice said next really shocked Qianhao. When you enter the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra, the old man can have a good talk with you. The old man is very curious about where you come from and the magical abilities you have. You peeped into my memories? Qianhao said in shock in his mind. The old man wouldn't go so far as to do that. Towards outsiders, we still have to have basic etiquette. Although you are still very weak now, to be able to cultivate such a monstrous genius like you, the old man believes that the greater thousand world you belong to should be very, very strong. You shouldn't have come to our place to steal our very ordinary fate. All right, we'll talk about the specifics in the Immortal Sutra sacred land. Of course, you have to have the strength to make it through the final competition. If you can't pass it, the old man will summon you alone, but he won't give you the chance to comprehend the Immortal Sutra. Good. Senior, I barged in unintentionally. I really want to leave, I really want to go back. It's not that I'm greedy, but I want to do my best to improve myself. I want to go back. The old man has already investigated your situation, but there are still many things that are unclear. We'll talk about it when the time comes. The old man has to prepare for the Crystal Palace Immortal Fate test. After the divine consciousness finished speaking, it disappeared from Qianhao's mind. Qianhao took a deep breath. Under countless onlookers, his figure slowly dissipated without a sound. Activating the token, the door of the palace only opened a crack. A gust of wind directly entered, and the door of the palace closed immediately. If one did not examine carefully, they would not have noticed the subtle fluctuations at all. You are finally back. Why were you gone for so long? What Qianhao did not expect was that Wen Tanlan was actually loitering at the door, looking impatient. Obviously, after he took away the token, she could not even enter or leave, and Qianhao had been gone for too long. Whoosh, Qianhao's eyes were already empty, as if he had lost his soul. But a bright light shone from between his eyebrows. One by one, immortal sutras appeared in front of Wen Tanlan. Wen Tanlan gasped. Just by looking at the number, she knew that the commotion this time was huge. 30 sutras, that was 30 sutras. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Qianhao's mind directly removed the mind brand from the 30 Immortal Sutra magic treasures. You want to give them all to me? Knowing that Li Mubai would not answer, Nguyen Tan Lan still asked in surprise. Chen Hao's empty eyes were looking at her. Naturally, he would not speak. He only did what he thought was necessary as compensation. Although he could totally not be responsible. But that was not Chen Hao. In the state of madness, he sealed his consciousness, allowing Nguyen Tan Lan, who had ulterior motives, to successfully approach him. Furthermore, she obtained the recognition of his subconscious third anima, and was treated as family by him in his hazy state of consciousness. And Nguyen Tan Lan's serious injury and near death was directly caused by his subconscious third anima. What happened after that, Chen Hao was no longer in the mood. He also knew that for such a woman who approached him in pursuit of the peak of martial arts, the loss and harm was great. The human heart was made of flesh. Especially after the physical contact, even if there were no feelings, Chen Hao could not leave so coldly. Even more so, he could not blame Nguyen Tan Lan for taking the initiative to approach him. "Thank you." Nguyen Tan Lan stared blankly at Chen Hao. After a full 2 minutes, she said softly. Her eyes were wet again. "It would be great if you could never wake up. Unfortunately, you will wake up in the end." What made Chen Hao slightly surprised was that Nguyen Tan Lan did not immediately fuse with the Immortal Sutra magic treasure. Instead, she continued to stare at him and said, "After you wake up, you might not even remember what happened between us. Or even if you have an impression, my appearance is ordinary, and my talent and potential are only at the top of the Hunyuan sect. I am not even qualified to enter the Chaos Academy. How could you care about me? So many Immortal Sutras magic treasures. Perhaps, subconsciously, you are compensating me. I don't know how much you can understand. Even if you understand, so what? You will wake up in the end. Forgive my selfishness, I accept it. If you wake up and regret giving it all to me, I can return it to you." After Nguyen Tan Lan finished speaking, she tightly grasped Chen Hao's hand and began to fuse with the Immortal Sutra magic treasures. Chen Hao directly sat down cross-legged and slowly closed his eyes, as if he had not heard anything. But in his heart, he sighed. This was a smart woman, a woman who could grasp all opportunities, and also a woman who could cut the Gordian knot with a swift knife. Even though Chen Hao knew very little about her through Li Mubai's memories, Nguyen Tan Lan was able to become the Hunyuan sect's favored girl not because of luck, but because of her crazy cultivation and her shrewdness in seizing opportunities. Of course, more importantly, she had a heart that pursued the peak of martial arts. Otherwise, with her talent, she would not have achieved what she had today. Of course, this was talking about her achievements before she met him. Chapter 989. Under the space-time laws in the palace, there were only 10 days left before the Crystal Palace Immortal Fate test. Chen Hao sat cross-legged quietly, but his heart could no longer calm down. Of course, it was not because of Nguyen Tan Lan, but because of the expert who had transmitted the message. Chen Hao did not know who that expert was, but he should at least be a senior member of the Immortal Sutra Sacred Land, and was definitely an expert beyond his imagination. Otherwise, he would not have been able to tell that he was an alien. How did he know? Chen Hao could not figure it out. However, when he heard the other party's words, he did not quibble. There was no need for that. To put it bluntly, if the other party wanted to kill him, he would not even have the slightest chance to resist. Moreover, since the other party had said it, he naturally had a basis. As long as I release my sealed memories and emotions, I can enter the demonic realm at any time. Now, I have truly reached the great circle of the Daluo Golden Wonderland. But if I want to break through to the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, I have to comprehend the Hongmeng Qi and obtain the world mark. Hongmeng, the beginning of the chaos. The Hongmeng domain, a forbidden land, a sacred land, and a place that every cultivator who had reached the great circle of the Daluo Golden Wonderland had to go. Every single primordial chaos sovereign had been to a place where they had come out alive. In the memories of Li Mubai, Zhao Guiyu, and the others, that place was a land of death for most of the Daluo Golden Wonderland experts. Out of 100 people, it was difficult for one cultivator to successfully comprehend the Hongmeng Qi and obtain the world mark. Many people with ordinary talent did not think that they had much hope and would simply not go there to court death. It was an existence similar to the vast thousand domains of the ancient chaos. Chen Hao sorted out the memories in his mind. He knew that he could not continue to be muddle-headed. Pain, no matter how great the pain, a temporary madness might allow his strength to soar in the short term, but it would not last long. He could only face it head-on. Ever since he was young, this was the first time he had faced the death of a family member, and it was even his younger brother. Most of his memories of his younger brother were from his bitter childhood. Ever since he had stepped into the world of cultivation, he had spent too little time with his younger brother, and he had not taken care of him much at all. It was for this reason that he blamed himself deeply. But now, everything had already happened. What was the use of regretting? Even if he could do it all over again, Chen Hao would not be able to change this cruel reality. Ever since he had stepped into the world of cultivation, Chen Hao, who had killed decisively, realized for the first time how precious life was. In the cruel world of cultivation, it was either you die or I die. All along, Chen Hao had taken it for granted that he had never shown any mercy to his enemies, especially those who wanted to take his life. To be able to be titled as the killing god, how many lives had died in his hands? Chen Hao didn't even know how many he had, and he never cared, but now, the death of his younger brother, Chen Nan, made him feel something. Huff! Chen Hao let out a long sigh in his heart, suppressing all kinds of uneasiness bit by bit. His mind was immersed in the profound mysteries of the immortal scriptures that he had comprehended when he fused with the 30 immortal scriptures. Immortal scriptures, 2 of them were enough for him. The profound aura contained within the 30 items only needed to be fused once, and he would be able to completely devour the profound mysteries of the immortal scriptures. Of course, after handing it over to Nguyen Tan Lan, the immortal scripture magic treasure would not lose its original function because he had devoured its profound aura. What he had devoured was only all the profound mysteries that it emitted, swallowing them whole, and then comprehending them. This kind of special ability was not something that an ordinary cultivator could possess. To be precise, even a true immortal severing Dao might not have this kind of ability. This came from the fusion of 2 extreme Daos. Under the state of the Berserk Devil realm, Chen Hao had unexpectedly obtained it. Just like his supernatural ability, the fiery golden eyes, which had now become a unique ability of his. As for why he was able to activate the immortal light barrier of all the immortal scripture magic treasures, Chen Hao was not completely clear. He only knew that it was related to the primary outline of the Great Tao, the 3,000 Great Daos, and the Buddhist scriptures that he had comprehended. Under the space-time law, 3 days later, Chen Hao had left a wisp of divine sense outside. He had sensed that Nguyen Tan Lan had successfully fused the 30 immortal scriptures' magic treasures behind her back, and she slowly walked to his side. This was originally nothing, but after Nguyen Tan Lan stared at him blankly for a while, she actually gently leaned into his embrace. It's going to be the Crystal Palace's immortal fate test soon. Under the space-time law, there are still 7 days here. I want to cultivate, can you help me? Chen Hao's eyebrows twitched imperceptibly. You're the strongest man I've ever seen in the same realm. Although you're immersed in the demonic realm, I can feel that even if you step out of the demonic realm, your mysterious energy that can even bind and suppress souls is incomparable. At least, I've never heard of anyone in the chaotic Grand Thousand Worlds who can do that. Vital essence is vital essence, and the soul is the soul. The only thing that can control the soul is the power of the soul. But you're different. Previously, my soul residence had already collapsed, and even a Tao-severing perfected immortal couldn't save me. But you did it again. I don't regret it. I know that you'll leave me eventually, and I'm not worthy of you, so I can only grasp every moment before you wake up, even if you despise and look down on me even more after you wake up. I've already lost my primordial body, and when my potential is exhausted, it's impossible for a genius with greater potential to take a fancy to me. I'm sorry, I can only let the current you give me greater potential. Bam bam bam. Chen Hao opened his empty eyes, but he didn't move. Nguyen Tan Lan naturally didn't suspect anything. But Chen Hao could sense that Nguyen Tan Lan's heartbeat had sped up several times. When Nguyen Tan Lan reached out to take off his clothes, Chen Hao sighed in his heart. This was an exchange of benefits, wasn't it? At this moment, Chen Hao truly hated himself, hated his appearance, and hated the luck he had with women. However, what Chen Hao didn't know was that although his appearance, talent, and luck with women played a key role, the real problem was his heart. He was too soft-hearted. Ruthless, and decisive had always been his enemy. He was always too soft-hearted, affectionate, and easily moved by women. Perhaps it was for this reason, or perhaps it was because he was still in the state of sealing off his divine sense, at least on the surface, that he couldn't refuse. Or perhaps, with the mentality of compensation in the following fusion of yin and yang, he deliberately presented his understanding of the three major immortal sutras completely in the great cycle of the fusion of spirit and flesh. Chi. In the outside world, at dawn on the second day, above the palaces, in the streets of the immortal sutra city, in the shops, and in the taverns, a ball of brilliant immortal light rose. Although it wasn't a space-time gate, the aura it contained was much more powerful than a teleportation array. The Crystal Palace's Immortal Opportunity audition begins. All cultivators, please enter immediately. Chapter 990. The vast and majestic voice resounded in every corner of the immortal scripture city. At the same time, in the 108 cities where the top sects, top families, and major forces of the chaotic vast thousand world jointly held the selection competition, huge space-time gates opened at the same time. Countless practitioners who had passed through the selection competition jumped into the space-time gates one after another. This was a grand event. It was also the largest event in the chaotic vast thousand world that involved the entire cultivation world and every force. 10 million people entered the Crystal Palace at the same time. Chen Hao and Wen Tanlan's palace, as well as the surrounding Hunyuan sect disciples' palaces, opened one after another in a moment. Zhang Chong laughed loudly as he rushed out of the palace. He did not immediately enter the space-time portal above the palace, but floated in the air and looked at the palace where Chen Hao and Wen Tanlan were. Li Mubai, you probably don't know that I, Zhang Chong, have obtained the immortal scripture magic treasure, right? I said that I would seek justice for my brother, and I will definitely do it. Zhang Chong's expression was incomparably arrogant. His eyes shone brightly, and his determination was as firm as iron. His words were even more powerful and resonant. Each and every word he spoke was powerful and resonant. After obtaining the immortal scripture magic treasure, Zhang Chong excitedly returned to the palace to familiarize himself with its performance and comprehend the mysteries of the immortal scripture. At this time, he was so excited that he was afraid that the other disciples of the Hunyuan sect in the palace did not know that Zhang Chong had obtained the immortal scripture magic treasure. As a result, he deliberately made provocative sounds at Li Mubai again at this critical time. But what made Zhang Chong faintly feel strange was that, not to mention the seniors, who rushed out, even the newcomers with him looked at him strangely. What? At this moment, Nguyen Tanlan and Chen Hao walked out hand in hand. Nguyen Tanlan did not even look at Zhang Chong. Chen Hao, whose eyes were empty, naturally could not be bothered with such a clown. The moment they appeared, the two of them did not stop and immediately flew towards the space portal. However, it was only at this moment that Zhang Chong and the other disciples who had just come out of the palace all widened their eyes and locked onto Nguyen Tanlan's aura and her coiled hair. How is that possible? Nguyen Tanlan alone obtained 3 immortal sutra treasures. She actually became Taoist companions with Li Mubai? Oh my god. What did you say? Zhang Chong widened his eyes and stared at the disciples. Zhang Chong, you probably don't know, but after you, Nguyen Tanlan alone obtained 3 immortal sutra treasures. Moreover, Nguyen Tanlan publicly rejected Huang Tianhua, the youngest genius in the top 100 of the Chaos Academy, and publicly said that Li Mubai was her Taoist companion. Previously, we were aware of their situation and did not believe it. Now it must be true. Let's go. Chi. After saying that, the disciples directly flew into the sky and into the space portal. The dumbfounded Zhang Chong was stunned for a full minute before he rushed in as well. Walla. This is the legendary Crystal Palace? Phew. What a dense spiritual energy of heaven and earth, what a mysterious aura, what a magical space. I will definitely pass the immortal fate test. Definitely. Countless cultivators, especially those who came to the Crystal Palace through the preliminaries, were filled with intense battle intent and killing intent. It was as if they had just come out from a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Their mental states were unusually excited and powerful. Those who were able to make it this far, no matter how talented they were definitely combat experts and battle geniuses. It's just the Crystal Palace's immortal fate test. What's there to be excited about? Cough cough. Brother Wang, you are different from us. You purposely gave up the final spot to enter the preliminaries for the sake of battle? Yes, Brother Wang is really admirable. There are many like me. The preliminaries are where the real experts gather. The final competition is more dependent on luck. There's no meaning in training. The battle intent and killing intent in the eyes of the young man with the surname Wang sent chills down everyone's spines. That cultivator is right. Some of the most powerful young geniuses of the top sects, families, and large factions willingly gave up the final spot to enter the preliminaries. These people are usually the real experts. They believe in themselves and train themselves. The preliminaries are indeed much more cruel and intense than the final competition. It's very suitable for training battle techniques and increasing one's battle strength. In the final competition, each person has 9 rounds. Who the opponent is has a lot to do with how much of the Immortal Sutra one has comprehended. During the random allocation, the fate with the Immortal Sutra's sacred ground plays a large role. Someone in the crowd explains softly to the person beside him. That was indeed the case. This was undoubtedly something that the top sects liked to see. After all, the allocation of spots was limited. After some of the real experts chose to enter the preliminaries, there would naturally be empty spots, allowing more people from the sects to enter the final competition. Then, there would naturally be more people entering the Immortal Sutra's sacred ground. Wang wang wang. Hiss hiss hiss. One figure after another appeared in the enormous underwater world. This was the gathering place before the Crystal Palace's immortal fate test began. Although it was enormous, with tens of millions of people gathered here, it still made the space extremely narrow. Although it was not to the point of people crashing into each other, it was close. Mubai, don't swallow. When Nguyen Tan Lan and Chen Hao had just appeared in this space hand in hand, Nguyen Tan Lan sent a voice transmission to remind them. She also slightly increased the strength of the hand that was holding Chen Hao. Under the space-time laws of the palace, Nguyen Tan Lan and Chen Hao had cultivated for several days. Their souls, physical bodies, essence, qi, and spirit, as well as their comprehension of the heavenly Tao laws, had all improved tremendously. This also caused Nguyen Tan Lan's aura to change slightly. Her beautiful face also became more beautiful. Moreover, through the fusion of yin and yang these few days, she had a clearer understanding of Chen Hao's strength. She was also glad that she had put aside her pride and dignity to seize this opportunity. When the test begins later, you only need to follow me. With your comprehension of the Immortal Sutra, you will not encounter any obstacles at all. You will pass easily. Nguyen Tan Lan sent a voice transmission to Chen Hao. Seeing the gazes of the surrounding cultivators, she, who had lost her primordial yin body, appeared in front of others for the first time. Her beautiful face blushed slightly. She secretly looked at Chen Hao's side profile, and an emotion that had never appeared before surged in her heart. The Crystal Palace's immortal fate test was not a guarantee that whoever was leading the other would pass. Nguyen Tan Lan was certain that there would be no problem with leading Li Mubai. That was because Li Mubai's comprehension of the Immortal Sutra was so deep that it was completely beyond her imagination. There would not be any problems at all. If it were a cultivator who had very little comprehension of the Immortal Sutra, even if they held hands, they would not be able to advance at all. Chapter 991. 10 million Daluo Golden Wonderland at the Great Perfection Stage. Chen Hao did not react to Nguyen Tan Lan's words, but his powerful soul perception sensed the aura of the surrounding cultivators and was shocked. 10 million Daluo Golden Wonderland at the Great Perfection stage, and most of them came here through the challenge. How many Daluo Jinxian were eliminated? At least, it was not something the vast universe galaxy could compare to. Even the total number of Daluo Jinxian in the chaotic vast thousand worlds could not be compared to the total number of Daluo Jinxian in the chaotic vast thousand worlds. Moreover, there were many experts among them. Their battle intent, killing intent, spirit, and will were all rare and powerful. It had to be said that the chaotic vast thousand worlds was a world where martial arts flourished and was very suitable for cultivators. There are a total of 1,034,000 cultivators who can qualify for the Crystal Palace's Immortal Fate test this year. The test is about to begin. The only thing you need to do is to walk out of the Crystal Palace. The time limit is 3 days. Those who cannot walk out within the time limit will be eliminated. The top 512,000 cultivators within the time limit will qualify for the final competition. The rest will be eliminated. Once again, no one is allowed to fight after entering the Crystal Palace. Those who violate the rules will be disqualified. An hour later, a majestic voice resounded throughout the entire space. The noisy crowd immediately quietened down. The Crystal Palace is open. Chi 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 chi. Following the voice's command, the entire space bloomed with dazzling light, enveloping all the cultivators without exception. At this moment, Nguyen Tan Lan suddenly tightened her grip on Chen Hao's hand. Immediately, with a buzzing sound, Chen Hao clearly felt that he and Nguyen Tan Lan seemed to have entered an endless whirlpool. Soon after, they appeared in an underwater world that was emitting the light of ice crystals. There were crisscrossing transparent channels in all directions. Outside the channels was the turbulent dark blue seawater. They lost their sense of direction completely, but their surroundings were filled with a faint immortal sutra pressure and majestic spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Almost instantly, Chen Hao was certain that this faint immortal sutra pressure was the key to guiding the cultivators out of the Crystal Palace. Indeed, it was not difficult for him. He did not even need to use his heart to sense it. However, for the vast majority of people, it was extremely difficult to sense this faint pressure from the immortal scripture. Even when Tan Lan only opened her eyes after half a minute. This way, Nguyen Tan Lan pulled Chen Hao's hand and quickly walked in the direction of the immortal sutra pressure. At this moment, Chen Hao realized that many cultivators in the surroundings quickly followed Ruan Qinglan when they saw her enter a crystal tunnel with him. Obviously, not all of them had sensed it. Buzz. The moment they entered the crystal channel, Chen Hao once again felt the aura of being transported. After this, less than 20 of the 100 cultivators who had followed him and Nguyen Tan Lan were left. Needless to say, Chen Hao knew that only the cultivators who had sensed the immortal sutra pressure's guidance could advance to this place. The chances of others who wanted to follow being able to appear here were close to zero. At this moment, Nguyen Tan Lan closed her eyes again and carefully sensed. As they walked and stopped, the number of people around them kept changing. At the same time, the number of people kept decreasing. Clearly, no matter where they started, their final destination was the same. At the starting point of Nguyen Tan Lan and Chen Hao, it was obvious that the two of them were moving at the very front. Moreover, Chen Hao discovered that as time passed, the time Nguyen Tan Lan needed to sense the immortal sutra pressure did not increase at all. She could basically grasp the direction of the immortal sutra pressure in half a minute. However, the time it took for most cultivators to sense the immortal sutra pressure had increased exponentially. Obviously, although the immortal sutra's mysterious aura was different and weakened, it was becoming more and more difficult for these cultivators to grasp it. As for Nguyen Tan Lan, because her comprehension of the immortal sutra was extremely high, she only needed the most basic sensing time and did not need to comprehend it at all. Mubai, we're moving so fast, much faster than the last few times I came here. The Immortal Sutra's aura now poses no difficulty to me at all. In addition to my comprehension becoming stronger, the Immortal Sutra's treasure will also emit an aura to guide me, and you should be much faster than me, Nguyen Tan Lan said excitedly as she moved forward quickly. Can you lead me forward? That way, we can get out of the Crystal Palace faster. I don't want to waste time here. Nguyen Tan Lan turned around and looked at Chen Hao. Her empty eyes carried a trace of hope. That gaze made Xianxia sigh inwardly. He knew very well what Nguyen Tan Lan meant when she said she did not want to waste time. He could wake up at any time and leave her. She wanted to seize every minute and second to improve herself through him. During those few days under the space-time laws in the palace, even if Xianxia was not in the mood, it was impossible to say that he did not feel anything. After all, the fusion of yin and yang was not the end of cultivation. After all, that was the most primitive throbbing of human beings. Moreover, the better the relationship, the more thorough the fusion, and the better the effect. However, Nguyen Tan Lan rarely lost herself even in the prelude of the primitive impulse. Xianxia had to admit that a woman who was so rational and focused on pursuing the peak of martial arts was indeed rare. Xianxia had no reason to refuse. Within the limits of his ability, giving her the greatest compensation would also make him feel more at ease. So fast. Following that, Nguyen Tan Lan was shocked to discover that Li Mubai did not seem to need to sense at all. When he passed through a crystal tunnel, he did not even stop and directly entered one of the dense network of tunnels. If not for the fact that Xianxia could directly transmit the direction of the pressure of the Immortal Sutra to Nguyen Tan Lan the moment he stepped in, and Nguyen Tan Lan could sense when he was flying towards the entrance, he was afraid that Nguyen Tan Lan would have been directly shaken off. It could be said that this completely saved Nguyen Tan Lan the time needed to search and sense in all directions. She only needed to sense the direction that Xianxia was heading in. Fifth Grand Elder, don't think so much. Even if Mubai came from the endless cycle of reincarnation, he is still our disciple. So what if he has awakened? I don't care so much, unless he cuts off all the memories of this life. But at least he hasn't yet. At the core of the Immortal Sutra City, in a huge martial arts arena with a radius of 1 billion miles, countless old men with powerful auras had already been waiting here. These were the masters of the top sects, families, and major forces of the chaotic vast thousand worlds. There were more than 20 people in the Hunyuan sect's seats, all of whom were the masters of the disciples who had obtained the sect's quota and passed the selection competition. Tian Wanxiang, the fifth Grand Elder, was among them. At this moment, Tian Wanxiang transmitted his voice to the fifth Grand Elder, who was frowning and shaking his head from time to time. Chapter 992. They had come in high spirits, but they did not expect that as soon as they entered the Immortal Scripture City, they would be brought to the palace of the Immortal Scripture City Controller. The palace of the Immortal Scripture City Controller. That was a place that only the sect master of the Hunyuan sect had entered. Originally, although they were puzzled as to why they were summoned, they were excited, especially Tian Wanxiang. However, when the controller, who didn't even show his face, asked them some questions and said a few words to them, it caused the fifth Grand Elder and Tian Wanxiang to sink into extreme shock and melancholy. Li Mubai. He had actually attracted the attention of the controller of the Immortal Scripture City. He had already concluded that Li Mubai was an outsider who had connected the 9 heavens and 10 lands through the endless samsara cycle and had come to the vast thousand chaos world. Moreover, he had already awakened. This was something that the fifth Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang had never thought of before, but when the controller of the Immortal Scripture City, the supreme existence of the vast thousand chaos world, pointed it out, they had to admit that this should be true. Before the collapse of the physical body and the reconstruction of the golden body, he might have just begun to awaken, but after the reconstruction of the golden body, it was basically certain that he had completely awakened. It was not the so-called bloodline origin mutation of the fifth Grand Elder, but the origin of the endless samsara bloodlines sealed in his bloodline. Now, Li Mubai's appearance was his true appearance. Of course I know. I am worried about the controller of the Immortal Scripture City. He does not seem to be just asking. Moreover, for Mubai to be able to attract his attention, he must have discovered something beyond his imagination. Outsider. The controller has already defined Mubai as an outsider. Except for the top of the Hongmeng domain, the great world of Xiandi, which vast thousand chaos world would welcome an outsider. The fifth Grand Elder shook his head again and sighed. He was picky. Endless years had passed, and he had not found a suitable disciple for him to pass on his mantle. Now, he had finally found a disciple that he was completely satisfied with, but he was about to lose everything. Mubai is just the Daluo Golden Wonderland. Don't tell me you want to make a move on Mubai? Eternal samsara. It's fate that brought him to this world. At least he's a native of the chaotic Grand Thousand World. Let's not talk about the fact that he's just awakened. Even if he reaches the realm of true immortal, he's still alone. How much fate can he absorb from us? It's not as simple as you think. With Mubai's talent and potential after his awakening, he must be an extremely powerful existence in the greater thousand world he belongs to. If he fully awakens and leaves here, what does that mean? At that time, if he has any ideas, I'm afraid our chaotic universe will become the holy land for exploration and cultivation in his boundless universe, or even be enslaved to this. Fifth Grand Elder, you mean? Mubai may be killed by the controller? The fifth Grand Elder sighed again with a gloomy look. He shook his head and said, "That's not to the extent. The eternal samsara contains many mysteries that are not inferior to the long river of fate. Before he reaches the realm set before the samsara, he's immortal and indestructible, and there's an infinite cycle of reincarnation. The controller does not welcome outsiders, and will not kill him in this life. The biggest possibility is to send him away when he's in the Daluo Golden Wonderland. He won't leave any mark on our chaotic Grand Thousand World. Send him away. Doesn't that mean he'll be sent to the great world of Xiandi?" Tian Wanxiang trembled all over and said in horror. The great world of Xiandi was something that even he, who was at the peak of the Grand Mist Supremacy realm, did not dare to go. Only people like the fifth Grand Elder dared to go, but only dared to go. As far as he knew, the fifth Grand Elder might not have been there. But those who had been there were very few who could return. And this was an expert in the cutting path perfected immortal realm. We'll see. After the fifth Grand Elder finished speaking, a fierce light flashed in his eyes, and he said in his heart, "Perhaps I can only fight with my old life." The vast sea outside the immortal scripture city was filled with endless immortal light at this moment. Dense chi filled the air, and the waves sparkled. But strangely, there was not a single wave. Looking down from above, one could vaguely see flickering figures, but they seemed to be moving in a small space. In the void above the sea, figures were sitting cross-legged in the air, looking down at the sea below with bright eyes. What a fast speed! One of the old men suddenly discovered two figures walking hand in hand and was immediately surprised. Everyone quickly take a look. Which sect are these two little guys from? I'm afraid this speed will break the previous records. Indeed, it's very fast. Why don't I have any impression of them? There were tens of millions of people in the Crystal Palace test, and there were 12 million people who could enter the final competition. Even if these old men were mighty figures with great magic power, it was impossible for them to pay attention to everyone. There was no problem with the disciples who had entered the immortal scripture sanctuary through the final competition. But this man and woman had obviously never entered. Moreover, these divine envoys were busy setting up the Crystal Palace test after they returned and did not pay attention to the situation of all the participating disciples. Similarly, they did not know about the appearance of the immortal scripture Dharma treasures in the immortal scripture city. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them not to recognize Nguyen Tan Lan, who had obtained 3 immortal scripture Dharma treasures. It's the two of them? But at this moment, an old man suddenly said with a loud laugh. This old man was the divine envoy who was in charge of receiving the Hunyuan sect. Brother Guan, are you the one who received the sect? Which sect? A few old men immediately looked at the divine envoy and asked. That's right. The last sect to receive them, the Hunyuan sect. That little guy is incredible. Both of them are incredible. If that little girl could not sense it, she could not have followed him. That's true. They actually became true Tao companions? No wonder. What a pity. It's too early. Why can't they understand such simple logic? The gains do not make up for the losses. After hearing what the others said, the divine envoy who was in charge of receiving the Hunyuan sect carefully sensed and immediately frowned. Nguyen Tan Lan had lost her primordial Yin body. Brother Guan, do you mean that they just became true Dao companions? And the reason why this little girl is so strong is because of that little guy? That's right. That little girl is Nguyen Tan Lan, the top genius of the Hunyuan sect. She is not considered very outstanding in the immortal scripture Holy Land. She has already participated several times, but she has never been able to enter the immortal scripture Holy Land. That little guy is Li Mubai. 300 years ago, he was only slightly above average in the Hunyuan sect. But I don't know what great opportunity he had, but he was chosen by the 5th Grand Elder of the Hunyuan sect. After that, he showed amazing progress and obtained the right to enter the grotto heaven of the Hunyuan sect. This is incredible. Chapter 993. What's so amazing about it? Now it can only be described as a miracle. After stepping out of the grotto heaven, they did not jump out of the demonic realm. All of their divine senses were sealed, and their bodies were controlled by their subconscious. Now, in the half a month since they came to the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra, they have become true Tao companions and have not come out of the demonic realm. If this is not a miracle, then what is? Cough, cough. This is indeed very amazing. All of the old fellows were shocked. This could be said to be a miracle that had never been heard of before. But they've broken the record. In just a day's time, Chen Hao and Ruan Qinglan broke the surface of the sea, which had been slightly undulating but without a single wave. The two of them were the first to rush out of the mysterious Crystal Palace, and even broke the record of the Crystal Palace's immortal destiny test by half a day. Many gazes containing powerful divine senses fell directly on Chen Hao and Nguyen Tan Lan. Chen Hao, whose eyes were empty, seemed to be oblivious. He was still holding Nguyen Tan Lan's hand tightly. Nguyen Tan Lan, on the other hand, was extremely uncomfortable with the sudden gathering of countless old fellows. In just one day, they managed to break out of the Crystal Palace. Without a doubt, this was a very amazing thing. Little girl, first of all, congratulations to the two of you for breaking the record of the Crystal Palace. This is your token. There is no problem with the qualification for the final competition. Secondly, forgive the old man for speaking bluntly. You young people should take it easy, especially those with talents like yours. Before your potential is exhausted, it's best to work hard. You understand what the old man means, right? The divine envoy in charge of the Hunyuan sect said bluntly. Nguyen Tan Lan blushed. Thank you for your teachings, senior. Nguyen Tan Lan lowered her head and did not dare to look at these old fellows. Not bad, not bad. This kid's aura is unfathomable, and the profundities of the immortal scripture he contains are even more shocking. The little girl is also not bad. Her future is limitless. Work hard. An old man looked around and praised. All right, you can go back and meditate. The finals will be held in 5 days. Prepare well, yes, senior. After Nguyen Tan Lan took the 2 tokens for the final competition, she pulled Chen Hao, who was still in a daze, and left quickly with a red face. Old man, you're really direct. Look, even the little girl is embarrassed because of you. So what? Wasn't it for their own good? I have high hopes for the two of them. This Nguyen Tan Lan really has a good eye. Li Mubai was extremely mediocre before, but their relationship seems to have been confirmed as a couple in name long ago. The divine envoy said, thinking that he was very clear. What he did not know was that from the beginning until now, it was all his own speculation. In fact, he had more or less added fuel to the fire, which led to the development of Chen Hao and Nguyen Tan Lan's current relationship. If he had not released the immortal light to cover the two of them, and if he had not asked Nguyen Tan Lan to take care of Chen Hao, perhaps everything would have been different. At least it would not be as exaggerated as it was now. After returning to the palace, Nguyen Tan Lan did not change her mind because of the divine envoy's words. She knew her own situation, and she also knew that she did not have much time left. During the final competition, it was very likely that Li Mubai would be awakened in the fierce battle. This was something that she could not control or predict. The only thing she could do was to cherish every minute and second in front of her. Phew, Ruan Qinglan looked at Chen Hao's peerlessly handsome face and took a deep breath. She closed her eyes, and a red flush appeared on her beautiful face. Soon after, she gently removed her silk dress, and her Taoist robes and undergarments slid down one after another. Her curvaceous body was presented in front of Chen Hao, whose eyes were empty. Slender legs, perfectly round buttocks, full breasts, and skin as translucent as mutton fat jade. When Tan Lan looked at her own body, and then looked at Chen Hao, who was standing still like a statue. She bit her lips tightly and said in a low voice, "I'm sorry," even though she knew that it was for cultivation, to reach the peak of martial arts. At this moment, the inherent restraint of a young girl still made her feel very cheap. This should be something that a man should take the initiative, but she could only put down her dignity, put down everything, and take the initiative to ask for sex, qi. What made Nguyen Tan Lan slightly surprised was that this time, Chen Hao, who was in a subconscious state, seemed to have experienced it after the previous few days. Without waiting for her to speak or help, he immediately put away his Taoist robes and clothes. Then, he hugged Nguyen Tan Lan and put her down on the bed. Without any unnecessary prelude, they immediately began. In the blink of an eye, the entire palace was filled with the sounds of love and endless spring. Life was about exercise. The fierce exercise almost made Nguyen Tan Lan lose herself, but the obsession in her heart made her quietly suppress this loss in the depths of her heart. The great Tao was ruthless. Even if it was a dual cultivation where yin and yang were mixed, one could not fall into true love. Everything was for cultivation, for the peak of martial arts. What she did not know was that perhaps it was because she was so open-minded, so determined to grasp every minute and second that the real reason why she and Chen Hao were separated for so many years, she judged others by her own standards. She believed that with Li Mubai's talent, he would never want a burden like her. She believed that after Li Mubai woke up, he would definitely choose a more talented and beautiful young girl. It was also because of this belief that she raced against time to obtain the greatest benefits from Chen Hao. Little did she know that Chen Hao's biggest weakness was that he could not be ruthless. Especially after she became his woman, he could not be ruthless. Just like Tan Tai Lien when she was in a low martial arts realm, if he was ruthless, how could they be together? A day as husband and wife meant endless devotion for the rest of their lives. He, who had always had the three views and ideals of the earth, could not be ruthless to a woman, especially when she was completely handed over to him without a pre-agreed exchange of benefits. Splash! Less than 4 hours after Chen Hao and Ruan Qinglan came out, another wave surged into the sky from the surface of the sea. A tall and imposing figure shot out into the sky, his body emitting a monstrous red light, causing the waves, the sky, and the sea to be dyed red. As soon as this figure appeared, the temperature within 1,000 miles became hot and dry. Clusters of flames like blooming red lotuses surrounded him. There seemed to be an enchanting red lotus flame talisman engraved between his eyebrows. His gaze swept across the world, as if he was the ruler of the world. Less than 4 hours in a day, and he broke the record again. Fire Lotus Immortal Seal. Good boy, amazing. I remember that 1,000 years ago, this boy broke into the sacred place of the Immortal Sutra during his first participation. After that, he never came again. I didn't expect that in only 1,000 years, he could obtain the Fire Lotus Immortal Seal left by the founder of the Fire Lotus sect with his cultivation in the Daluo Golden Wonderland. Chapter 994. Very strong. The aura of the Immortal Sutra, he comprehended, is no less than that of Li Mubai. He should be even stronger. The attributes of the Crystal Palace are incompatible with his, which caused him to be slower by about 4 hours. This kid's performance 1,000 years ago was extremely shocking, and now it's even more terrifying. I'm afraid that all of us here at his level and age are far behind him. Indeed, this kind of domineering aura is not something that ordinary people can possess. After the divine minds of many divine envoys locked onto this figure, they all exclaimed in shock. It was no less than when they saw Chen Hao and Nguyen Tan Lan come out. This figure was a disciple of the Fiery Lotus sect, Yin Xian. The Fiery Lotus sect was ranked 6th among the top sects in the chaotic Great Thousand World, and was much stronger than the Hunyuan sect. Yin Xian was a demonic genius of the Fiery Lotus sect. His personality was domineering, wild, belligerent, unrestrained, and undisciplined. Because of this, he had never joined any academy. Even the top academy in the chaotic Great Thousand World, the Chaos Academy, was beneath his notice. 1,000 years ago, when he participated in the competition of the Immortal Sutra Sanctuary for the first time, he easily stepped into the Immortal Sutra Sanctuary. At that time, he displayed amazing combat strength and the speed of his comprehension of the Immortal Sutra, which were among the best. At that time, it was only his first time participating. After that time, many people thought that he would definitely continue to participate in the competition in order to improve even more. However, what no one expected was that after he left the holy land of the Immortal Sutra, he never appeared again. Today, 1,000 years later, he finally reappeared. Moreover, needless to say, he had chosen to fight his way in through the cruel selection competition. Yin Xian, congratulations, you are the third to step out of the Crystal Palace, an old man said in a low voice, looking at Yin Xian with admiration. Third? Is there anyone faster than me? Senior, who are the two people in front? Li Mubai and Wen Tanlan, disciples of the Hunyuan sect, a pair of cultivation partners. Yin Xian frowned slightly and said, never heard of it. You're not inferior to them. The Crystal Palace's attribute is the complete opposite of yours, which affects your performance. Otherwise, it's hard to say who's faster. Oh, did that mean that they were also very strong? Li Mubai of the Hunyuan sect, Nguyen Tan Lan. I'll remember that. Thank you very much. Yin Xian took the token and immediately turned into a stream of flames, disappearing in the blink of an eye. He really is a battle maniac. It looks like Li Mubai and Nguyen Tan Lan will have to face him sooner or later. No matter where this kind of person goes, he is bound to be an existence that dominates a region, and he will definitely fight against the strong. What he pursued was to be invincible among his peers. While these old saints were still discussing Yin Xian, someone else rushed out of the sea. It's him? This time, all the old saints' eyes widened into round balls. It seemed that this person's appearance was far beyond their imagination, and was even more shocking than Yin Xian's appearance. Little Xian, you're just SOSO. You didn't even notice him after following him for so long. The person who stepped out of the sea quietly floated above the sea, exuding a majestic vitality and green light. Coupled with his turquoise Taoist robe, he looked even more vigorous. His eyes were emitting a dazzling and mysterious divine light, which was very shocking. However, this was obviously a man, and he was very strong. Yet, when he opened his mouth, he spoke in a sissy manner. That was really shocking. No, it was disgusting. Zhou Qinglong, why are you here? An old saint asked with a frown, looking surprised. Old grandpas, do you think he wanted to come? You'll be surprised later. Don't ask him. Heaven's secrets can't be revealed. It's not that he doesn't want to say, but in fact, he only knows these 6 words. But, I'm really curious. Oh, old grandpa, give me the token. The young man called Zhou Qinglong stroked his elegant green hair, twisted his waist in a flirtatious manner, and stretched out his orchid fingers. He looked at the saint who was holding the token but had no intention of giving it to him, and curled his lips and winked. Even though the old saints knew this guy very well, they still had a deep impression of him. When they saw him again, they were so disgusted that they had goosebumps all over their bodies. Hurry up and leave. Oh, old grandpa, you're so annoying. I can leave by myself. How dare you make me leave? I'll be sad. The surrounding saint envoys couldn't help but spit out their saliva. What the fuck? Such a peerless genius was too unique. I'll give it to you. If you like to stay here, then go ahead. Believe. Sush. The sacred emissary's face turned green. He tossed the token to Zhou Qinglong and turned into a streak of light, fleeing into the distance. You're annoying too. You're making fun of me. I'm not going to play with you anymore. After Zhou Qinglong finished speaking, he twisted his slender waist and suddenly turned into a wisp of green smoke, disappearing at an astonishing speed. Zhou Qinglong, a disciple of the Green Lotus sect. 10,000 years ago, he was already an almost invincible existence in the Daluo golden wonderland of the vast thousand chaotic worlds. In order to comprehend the three great immortal sutras, he had not stepped into the Hongmeng domain. 3,000 years ago, his comprehension of the three great immortal sutras had surpassed that of many top sect masters. When he left, he said that he would never come to the Immortal Sutra Holy Land again and was preparing to advance to the Hongmeng domain. Who would have thought that this guy would come again after 3,000 years? His aura alone was stronger than that of countless top geniuses in the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. The secrets of heaven cannot be revealed. What does that mean? And we're surprised. What does that mean? We're saints. Is there anything we don't know? After Zhou Qinglong left, the saints were puzzled. But everyone obviously knew what was going on. But then, the geniuses who these elders thought would never come to the Immortal Sutra Holy Land again and should be in the Hongmeng domain appeared one after another. Moreover, the time between Yin Xian and Zhou Qinglong seemed to have been calculated. Such a strange thing made the saints feel that something was bound to happen, and it was very likely that it was secretly arranged by the controller. Otherwise, they really could not think of anyone who could gather this group of geniuses who would never appear in the Immortal Sutra Holy Land again, let alone hide it from them. What could it be? What was the purpose of gathering these geniuses? The saints could not figure it out. They could only suppress their curiosity and wait for the result. They did not dare to ask the controller about this. Little guy, it's not that the old man is stingy. The three great immortal sutras are the foundation of our chaotic vast thousand world. The old man is already very generous to let you comprehend so much. In the final competition, I'll let you see the true geniuses of our chaotic vast thousand world. Perhaps they're a little worse than you, but that's only in terms of talent and potential. No one knew that in the deepest part of the Immortal Sutra City, a strand of omnipresent divine consciousness drifted in every corner of the Immortal Sutra City. After seeing Yin Xian, Zhou Qinglong, and the others arrive, it muttered to itself. Chapter 995. After 2 days and 16 hours of the Crystal Palace Immortal Fate Test, 512,000 cultivators were the first to emerge victorious. These cultivators obtained tokens and entered Immortal Sutra City. Those who came out later did not even have the qualifications to enter the Immortal Scripture City. They were all teleported back by the space-time gate. The Crystal Palace test ended on the 3rd day. All the cultivators who were trapped in it went back the same way they came. Out of more than 10 million people, only 512,000 passed the audition. It could be said that it was cruel. But compared to the final competition 2 days later, it paled in comparison. Out of 512,000 people, only 1,000 could obtain the qualifications to enter the Immortal Scripture's sacred land. Out of 512 people, only 1 could enter. The final competition of the Immortal Scripture's sacred land was very different from the ranking competition. There was only elimination, no cycle, no ranking. It did not have much to do with individual combat strength. Except for the previous competition, which deliberately reminded the cultivation world to pay attention to the inflow of new blood, the opponents were basically randomly assigned based on luck and immortal opportunity. Of course, if you were strong enough to look down on 512,000 people, then you could enter the Immortal Scripture sacred land no matter how lucky you were. But this was a minority after all. Especially after the previous competition's reminder, some powerful veterans who had been here many times chose to avoid it for the time being. On this day, early in the morning, when the first ray of sunlight rose from the sea level, Chen Hao and Nguyen Tan Lan, who were entwined together, opened their eyes at the same time. Chen Hao was motionless, his eyes empty. Nguyen Tan Lan stared at Chen Hao's empty eyes. After half a minute, she hugged Chen Hao tightly again, as if she wanted to rub herself into Chen Hao's body, and then let go. The final competition is about to begin. Let's get up. When they stepped out of the palace hand in hand, Nguyen Tan Lan took a deep breath. She knew that after today, Li Mubai would wake up. As much as she wanted to, Li Mubai continued to be immersed in this state. All disciples who have passed the Crystal Palace's Immortal Fate test, please immediately rush to the Immortal Scripture City's core martial arts practice field. All disciples who have passed the Crystal Palace's Immortal Fate test, please immediately rush to the Immortal Scripture City's core martial arts practice field. A vast and majestic voice drifted through the entire Immortal Scripture City. I haven't tried all the shops yet. I have a feeling that the 46th item will be mine. Stop dreaming. Do you think you're Dandinga? Let's go. Chi. It would only take a little more than 2 days for the disciples who passed the preliminaries to come out of the Crystal Palace. Under normal circumstances, other than the experts who deliberately participated in the preliminaries, most people would use the holy water and the cultivation room in the palace to improve themselves. But this time, when everyone heard the sensational news that 40 Immortal Sutra magic treasures had appeared, they more or less allocated some time to try their luck. Moreover, another 5 magic treasures had appeared. In total, there were 45 items. Dandinga. Who could it be that obtained 30 Immortal Sutra magic treasures by himself? Brother Dandinga, I'm so curious. 30 Immortal Sutra magic treasures, so powerful, who could it be? Could this be the reason why we were asked to come? Possibly. We'll know soon. So what if it's 30 Immortal Sutra magic treasures? They're mere worldly possessions. No matter who it is, I'll stab them with my spear. I'm looking forward to it. Interesting. When everyone flew to the Immortal Scripture City's core martial arts practice field, 9 figures with different auras, but all of them were extremely powerful, turned into streams of light and rushed to the martial arts practice field as fast as lightning. They're here. It's finally about to begin. What a powerful aura. Chi. In the spectator area specially set up in the martial arts practice field, the big shots who had been waiting for a few days opened their eyes one by one when they saw the dense crowd of participating disciples rushing over like locusts. Their divine senses searched over. Master! Master! In an instant, these powerful figures contacted their disciples. Although they couldn't get close, there was no problem in communicating with their divine senses. A moment later, all the big shots present were shocked. 45 Immortal Sutra magic treasures had appeared, and what was even more terrifying was that one person had obtained 30 of them. Mubai. After 5th Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang locked onto Chen Hao, he was excited. However, when he saw that Chen Hao was still sealing off all of his divine senses, he temporarily suppressed what he was about to say. Immediately, 5th Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang was shocked. His eyes locked onto Nguyen Tan Lan, who came hand in hand with Chen Hao. Her hair was coiled up and the aura she emitted showed that she had become a real woman. Tian Wanxiang was so shocked that he almost cursed. This can't be our disciples doing, right? What? At this moment, an old man sitting with 5th Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang was also shocked and exclaimed with a hint of anger, "How is this possible? How is this possible? Tian Wanxiang, it must be your disciples doing." Ahem, which disciple? Brother Gao, are you talking about 5th Grand Elder's personal disciple, Li Mubai? After Tian Wanxiang coughed awkwardly, he immediately pretended to be stupid and said, "Besides, look at Li Mubai's state. I seriously suspect that it was your personal disciple who did this to 5th Grand Elder's personal disciple. You, what about you? Who in the Hunyuan sect doesn't know that it was your disciple who took the initiative to approach 5th Grand Elder's personal disciple? Look, how strong is your disciple's aura now? Tian Wanxiang said angrily, using 5th Grand Elder's name as an excuse. The other party was Nguyen Tan Lan's master. He was also an elder, but he was much more powerful than Tian Wanxiang. He was one of the most powerful elders in the entire Hunyuan sect. Moreover, it was very likely that he would advance to the cutting path genuine immortal stage and become a grand elder. It was obviously unwise for Tian Wanxiang to do this, but it was obvious that his disciple must have been done. He couldn't help it. 3 pieces? 3 pieces? What 3 pieces? What surprised Tian Wanxiang and fifth Grand Elder, who didn't speak, was that Nguyen Tanlan's master, Gao Xiangqing, suddenly said this. Qinglan, my disciple got 3 pieces of Immortal Sutra magic treasures. 3 pieces, 3 pieces. Pa. 1 piece of Immortal Sutra magic treasure? Good. What? Almost at the same time, Sidu Qian's master and Zhang Chang's master also cried out in surprise. If the disciples hadn't explained the situation in detail, these old guys in the Hunyuan sect would have thought that Immortal Sutra magic treasures had become common goods on the streets. Compete well and win glory for our Hunyuan sect. Whoosh. At this moment, fifth Grand Elder suddenly sent out a divine thought, directly cutting off the connection between Gao Xiangqing and the others and his disciple. At the same time, he transmitted a message to all the disciples of the Hunyuan sect. This time, he came not only for his personal disciple, but also on behalf of the sect leader. Chapter 996. The others were fine, but if Nguyen Tanlan's master, Gao Xiangqing, continued to speak, it would inevitably affect Nguyen Tanlan's upcoming competition. Although the fifth Grand Elder, Tian Wanxiang, did not want his disciple to start the fusion of yin and yang too early, as a man, as long as he did not take the fusion of yin and yang as the main path of cultivation in the future, it would not affect him much. But Nguyen Tanlan was different. He knew his own disciple well. The fifth Grand Elder, Tian Wanxiang, was not interested in Nguyen Tanlan. Similarly, Gao Xiangqing would not be interested in Li Mubai. Although Li Mubai had suddenly risen, in the eyes of Gao Xiangqing he was far inferior to the disciples of the Chaos Academy. Even Sidu Qian was much better, not to mention the monstrous geniuses of the Chaos Academy. Especially after Nguyen Tanlan had just obtained 3 Dharma treasures from the Immortal Sutra, it was even more impossible for him to be interested in Li Mubai. What did it mean to have 3 Dharma treasures from the Immortal Sutra? It was definitely a great fate with the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra. Once one entered, the improvement would be absolutely amazing. In the entire chaotic boundless world, there were probably countless monstrous geniuses waiting to be chosen by Nguyen Tanlan. So, after Gao Xiangqing's divine sense was cut off by the fifth Grand Elder, the more he thought about it, the more depressed he became. His disciple had always been able to distinguish between the important and the important. How could she be so stupid and lose her primordial yin body this time? From the information he had received, it was indeed Nguyen Tanlan who had taken the initiative to approach Li Mubai. This was understandable. After all, Li Mubai had really risen. But no matter what, she should not have sacrificed her primordial yin body at this time. On the Hunyuan sect's side, just as the fifth Grand Elder settled the matter, the surrounding elders exclaimed in shock. Xian, Zhou Qinglong, 9 monstrous geniuses that should not have appeared here had actually appeared at the same time in this year's final competition. This made everyone feel incredulous. The fifth Grand Elder frowned. These 9 people could be said to be the top monstrous geniuses in the chaotic Great Thousand World. However, the most important thing was that they had more or less disappeared for a long time. At least the fifth Grand Elder knew that a few of them had entered the Hongmeng domain. How could they have returned before advancing? The fifth Grand Elder sensed the aura of his disciple, Li Mubai, and faintly thought of something. But, other than shaking his head and sighing, what else could he do? In fact, when he was summoned by the master of the Immortal Scripture City for questioning, he already felt that it was basically impossible for Li Mubai to enter the Immortal Scripture's sacred land. It was unlikely that the controller of the Immortal Scripture City would allow an outsider to enter the foundation of the chaotic boundless world. But he didn't expect that the controller would use such a method to snipe. Mubai has already become so powerful? The fifth Grand Elder didn't think that the controller of the Immortal Scripture City would use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Since the 9 people had been found, naturally, the others were not confident that they could stop Chen Hao outside the Immortal Scripture's sacred land. Buzz. Chi 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 chi. After all the disciples who had obtained the qualifications for the final competition had arrived, a terrifying fluctuation suddenly came from heaven and earth. This fluctuation directly spread to the entire martial arts practice field. It was extremely shocking. Even the big shots of the cultivation world who had come to watch the battle changed their expressions slightly. It was also at the instant this aura appeared that clusters of immortal light gushed out from the center of the martial arts practice field. They were densely packed, and every area that was enveloped by a cluster of immortal light rumbled and rose up into the air. A total of 256,000 cubes. What a powerful divine ability! At this moment, Chen Hao, who was expressionless and had empty eyes, was shocked. With a wave of his hand, he could condense 256,000 cubes for the Daluo Golden Wonderland cultivators to use in the competition. How powerful did one's cultivation base have to be to do this? And that figure was just a phantom, a divine thought incarnation. It was unimaginable. The new Immortal Scriptures Sacred Land competition is about to begin. This is a very strong competition, and it is also the competition with the most immortal scriptures Dharma treasures in history. 45. There are really many disciples with strong immortal fate. The phantom's faint voice seemed to be whispering in everyone's ears. There was no pressure. On the contrary, it made people feel very cordial. But it was precisely because of this that people were even more shocked. This is the power of new blood. The immortal scripture pays attention to the word fate. This competition is much better than the previous one. The old man hopes that the next competition will be better, and I also hope to see more new faces. The phantom's words were directed at the big shots of the cultivation world. But at this moment, little fellow, in today's competition, the old man will say the unpleasant things first so that you won't have any grudges. Well, since you were born in our chaotic vast thousand worlds in this life, you should be clear about the importance of the immortal scriptures sacred land. The three great immortal scriptures are the foundation of our chaotic vast thousand worlds. The old man said bluntly that this should not be allowed to be comprehended by outsiders. But considering that you are a native of the chaotic vast thousand worlds in this life, the old man will not directly deprive you of your qualification. But if you want to pass, you have to give it a try with all your strength. The next 9 battles you will face are specially arranged by the old man for you. If you can pass, the old man will no longer stop you. The phantom's divine thoughts floated into Chen Hao's mind. But Chen Hao answered without any hesitation. Did he have a choice? Not at all. The phantom's treatment of him was already quite courteous. At the same time, the phantom's words made Chen Hao slightly surprised. It seemed that the phantom had not found out the real reason why he was here. Native, did that mean he had reincarnated? Of course, Chen Hao would not even think about this at this moment. He was very clear that if the phantom wanted to catch his thoughts, it would not be difficult at all. The best way was to know but not know. You're obviously awake, why are you still pretending? Sometimes being confused is better than being awake. That makes sense. You should prepare for the competition, we'll talk about the rest after you're done. Okay, the final competition officially begins. The token in each of your hands will be sent to a random arena. No one knows who your opponent is. Once you enter the arena, the battle will begin. The winner will advance, the loser will be eliminated. If you win 9 battles in a row, you will be qualified to enter the sacred ground of the Immortal Sutra. Chi. Chen Hao felt that his token was exuding a mysterious aura as soon as the mysterious shadow's voice faded. Then, it rose up and flew towards one of the rings. Mubai, I'll bring. Chen Hao suddenly rose up, turned into a stream of light, and chased after the token. Nguyen Tan Lan was slightly stunned and felt a sense of loss. She still felt his residual warmth between her fingers. Fortunately, she realized that Chen Hao had not woken up, but was only chasing after her token. Who is this guy? He can't wait. Chapter 997. What's going on? His divine sense seems to have been completely sealed. Li Mubai of the Hunyuan sect. He's the Taoist companion of Nguyen Tan Lan, the one who obtained 3 Immortals Sutra magic treasures. Just now, my disciple said that he was immersed in a state of madness. Under normal circumstances, the contestants would only enter the stage after the tokens were returned to their original positions. Chen Hao chased after them directly, which was undoubtedly a very stupid thing to do. In an instant, it attracted a lot of people's attention, and his identity was exposed. The reason why Chen Hao did this was that he didn't want Nguyen Tan Lan to send him off every time. There was no need for that. Nguyen Tan Lan also had to fight. This kid is very confident. The virtual shadow thought to himself. Mu Bai, you must win. You can't be looked down upon. Tian Wanxiang stood up on purpose and howled towards the distance. Li Mu Bai naturally couldn't hear him. He was talking to Gao Xiangqing, who had an ugly expression on his face, as if someone owed him money. Humph, don't dream about it. Qing Lan obtained 3 Immortals Sutra magic treasures. Even if she lost her primordial Yin body, she can still choose a real monstrous genius at will. I'm not looking down on him, but it's a fact. Go back and take care of your disciple. Don't let him get close to Qing Lan again. Gao Xiangqing didn't dare to say it out loud, but he transmitted his voice to Tian Wanxiang in a stern voice. Ah? Who's the one looking for who? My disciple looking for your disciple? How could my disciple take the initiative in his current state? Wasn't it because your disciple found out that my disciple was unimaginably strong, so he took the initiative to offer himself? This is a junior's matter. You're already so old. Can't you take care of it? Tian Wanxiang said. At first, his words were reasonable, but the last sentence clearly expressed that he was willing to let Chen Hao be with Nguyen Tan Lan. 3 Immortal Sutra magic treasures. What kind of concept was that? Although Tian Wanxiang did not know how the master of Immortal Scripture City would deal with the outsider, Li Mu Bai, as long as he was here, he could improve a little. Dream on. Not to mention me, even the sect leader wouldn't agree. Didn't you see that the 5th Grand Elder didn't say anything? That's called having self-awareness and learning. A toad will never be able to eat the meat of an immortal goose. What's there to gloat about with 3 pieces of magical equipment? Just look at my disciple. Not just Nguyen Tan Lan, he can even get the most beautiful girls from the Chaos Academy. Do you really think I care? As expected, while Tian Wanxiang and Gao Xiangqing were secretly bickering, the 5th Grand Elder, who had been frowning all this time, suddenly shook his head and said as he stared in Chen Hao's direction. Ah. Tian Wanxiang followed his gaze and was immediately dumbfounded. What's going on? The top monstrous genius who shouldn't have appeared here, the Thunder Spear Xiang Tiange, actually flew towards the arena where Chen Hao had entered. Xiang Tiange, Lightning Cloud Sect, a monstrous genius whose name shook the world 8,000 years ago. His Thunder Spear technique has long been cultivated to the extreme. 8,000 years ago, how many geniuses from the Grand Mist Supremacy realm did he defeat with his spear alone? Li Mu Bai's luck isn't good, Zhang Chang's master said indifferently. Although on the surface it seemed to be a fact, this guy was very happy in his heart. He was naturally clear about the conflict between Zhang Chong and Li Mu Bai. Li Mu Bai's elimination would affect the Hunyuan sect, but it was related to his personal interests. He didn't care and was very happy to see such an outcome. Gao Xiangqing also cheered in his heart. Xiang Tiange's appearance immediately made countless powerful figures in the cultivation world pay attention to his arena. It was no less than paying attention to the situation of their own disciples. The other 8 monstrous geniuses who shouldn't have appeared here, although they had also been assigned to an arena, because of a sentence that Yin Xian said when Li Mu Bai was the first to chase after the token, they all stood in place and didn't move for the time being. Li Mu Bai, in the crazy demon realm, the first to step out of the Crystal Palace test. It hasn't even been a day, Yin Xian said. When he entered Xianjing City, he inquired about Li Mu Bai and Nguyen Tan Lan. Li Mu Bai, in the crazy demon realm. Perhaps you are Dandinga? Crash, Xiang Tiange, who had stepped into the arena, stood proudly and stared at Chen Hao's empty eyes as if he wanted to see through him. The 3 words, Dandinga, directly caused an uproar in the audience. Nguyen Tan Lan's heart thumped. Unfortunately, after Chen Hao grabbed the token, he stood on the arena like a statue and didn't have the slightest reaction. I'm afraid only people in your state can remain calm after obtaining the Immortal Sutra Dharma treasure. Your body contains extremely terrifying energy, and you were the first to rush out of the Crystal Palace test. You broke the record in less than a day. I think it's you, Xianxia said with his head held high, his nostrils almost pointing at Chen Hao as he squinted his eyes. Every word he said shocked the big shots who were paying attention to this place. Especially when he said that the results of the Crystal Palace test would not be announced, and that he broke the record in less than a day, it was even more shocking. Fifth Grand Elder and Tian Wanxiang took a deep breath in excitement. Gao Xiangqing and Zhang Chang's master, who were happily waiting to see Li Mubai being defeated by Xiang Tianga's spear, widened their eyes as if they had eaten a fly. How could Li Mubai be so strong? Was it really Dandinga? If it was true, then Gao Xiangqing could kill himself. Fuck, Dandinga had obtained 30 Immortal Sutra Dharma treasures. How could his disciple compare to him? All disciples, please enter the arena immediately. At this moment, the virtual shadow issued an order, interrupting everyone's shock. Chi-chi-chi-chi, streaks of light streaked across, like locusts, rushing towards the arena where their tokens were. Hey, I haven't seen enough. Brother Little Egg is so handsome. So annoying, I'll deal with you guys first. Chi-chi-chi, the other 7 monsters. When Zhou Qinglong raised his thumb and middle finger and made a sound, all of them frowned and took the lead to leave. Annoying. Bang. Zhou Qinglong waved his hand and stomped his feet. With a swish, he turned into a stream of light and flew towards his arena. Little Egg, can you make your move a little later? I want to take a closer look. Anyway, Brother Little Egg is in the demonic realm. Zhou Qinglong was in the air, but his voice, which could kill people, floated out again. If you don't agree, I'll chase you for 10,000 years. Xiang Tianga, who had his nose in the air and was full of arrogance, shuddered when he heard Zhou Qinglong's words. 10,000 years. Motherfucker, do you want me to live? Although the 9 monsters were separated by thousands or even tens of thousands of years, when they were in the Hongmeng domain, they already knew each other, and no one was willing to submit to anyone. But all of them were afraid of one person, and that was Zhou Qinglong, this abnormal person. Chapter 998. How would Xiang Tianga dare to make a move immediately? But he could not allow himself to be threatened so blatantly. Don't bother me for the next 10,000 years. I only have 3 breaths of time. Zhou Qinglong said. You're so annoying. Bargaining with others. Humph, 3 breaths. Am I that weak? 3,000 years in a breath of time. Okay. Chen Hao, who did not show any reaction on the surface, secretly clicked his tongue. Those who could come here, whether it was the quota allocated by the sect or those who passed the preliminaries, could be called the top geniuses in the chaotic vast thousand world. There were even monsters from the Chaos Academy. But this sissy's conversation with the person in front of him was absolutely looking down on all the heroes in the world. 1 breath of time, that was only the time for 1 move. What if he met a genius like Huang Tianhua? Zhou Qinglong, Yin Xian, and the other geniuses arrived first. They landed on the arena where they were at the first moment. The moment they landed, the terrifying pressure and fighting spirit around them rose. How can it be me? Why? It was not easy for me to make it to the final. Is my immortal fate so bad? I can't accept this. Almost in a moment, all the practitioners who saw the 8 monsters land on the same arena as them let out sorrowful cries. Why? Wen Tanlan stared at Chen Hao, who stood in the arena like a statue, and bit her lips tightly. Who in the younger generation did not know Xiang Tianga? It was really unexpected that Li Mubai would meet such a monster in the first round. After all, in Wen Tanlan's opinion, Li Mubai's fate with the Immortal Sutra was absolutely unparalleled. In the final competition, his luck should be extraordinarily good and he should be unimpeded. But in the first round, you can do it. I believe you. Wen Tanlan took a deep breath when she thought of the terrifying energy hidden in Chen Hao's body, his powerful soul, body, and divine abilities, as well as his current state. She suddenly sped up and landed in one of the arenas. Boom. Nguyen Tan Lan unleashed her strongest aura before her opponent even stepped onto the stage. Nguyen Tan Lan's energy soared into the sky. She immediately emitted a brilliant immortal glow. Her aura was so strong that even Nguyen Tan Lan herself was a little shocked. Nguyen Tan Lan's confidence was unprecedentedly strong when she sensed that the yin and yang in her body were in harmony. So strong. Qing Lan's progress is so fast. Could it be, really be because of Li Mubai? Nguyen Tan Lan's master, Gao Xiangqing, thought to himself at this moment. Nguyen Tan Lan has 3 Immortals Sutra Dharma treasures. A cultivator who had landed in the arena felt bitter when he sensed the terrifying aura. At this moment, the figure that seemed to have transformed into millions of shadows suddenly let out a powerful roar. Let the first round begin. Heaven and earth trembled. Chi-chi-chi. Clang, clang, clang. Boom, boom, boom. Ah! As soon as the shadow gave the order, earth-shattering noises erupted from the 256,000 arenas at the same time. Even if they were facing the 9 monsters, including Huang Tianhua and the other monsters from the Chaos Academy, Su Qian, Zhang Chong, Nguyen Tan Lan, and the others who had obtained the Immortals Sutra Dharma treasures, none of them would give up without a fight. They might not even be considered as geniuses here, but after stepping out of here, which one of them was not a top genius in their respective factions? Even a chicken head would have the pride of a chicken head. Sorry, your immortal fate must be very bad. Even if you didn't meet me, you would still be eliminated. Go. Sorry. Goodbye. To it. Little brother, don't blame me. Come again next time. Boom, 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 boom. The 8 monsters used their various divine abilities. Endless immortal light, terrifying aura, and powerful ultimate techniques blasted their opponents out of the arenas that were tens of thousands of square kilometers. Crack, crack, crack. The 8 tokens shattered, and the tokens returned to the 8 people's hands. In one breath, they defeated their opponents with only one move. Let's end this. Boom. Huang Tianhua, the genius of the Chaos Academy, punched out. He stood with his hands behind his back, while his opponents spat out mouthfuls of blood and flew out of the arena. His battle prowess was equally shocking, and it was not inferior to the 9 monsters at all. Huang Tianhua, who also finished his battle in one breath, appeared in front of Xiang Tiange and Qin Hao at a terrifying speed. His entire body was shrouded in intense immortal light. Miss Ruan, your progress is really shocking. Huang Tianhua's eyes narrowed as he stared at the figure that was quickly approaching him. Nguyen Tan Lan had also finished her battle in one move. Mubai, you want to fight? You want to fight? No one can defeat you. You must win. Do you understand? Use your strongest power to defeat any opponent who attacks you. Do you understand? Nguyen Tan Lan shouted at the arena while she was in the air. Her face, which was not stunning, was shining with a strong desire to fight. She was even more anxious than the statue-like Qin Hao. What surprised everyone was that Qin Hao, who had not reacted until now, suddenly had his eyes turn red the moment Nguyen Tan Lan finished speaking. In an instant, majestic blood qi, essence, qi, spirit, pressure, and endless immortal light gushed out from his body. The demonic realm had erupted. Chen Hao's black hair danced wildly, and his Taoist robes fluttered in the wind. As Chen Hao's power soared, he let out a furious roar, and the entire world exploded with a bang. His roar tore through the air. So powerful! This scene made countless people cry out in surprise. Ouch! Zhou Qinglong, who was a sissy, suddenly froze in midair. His eyes stared straight at Chen Hao's blood-red hollow eyes, which contained a kind of endless sorrow and sorrow. He could no longer make any sound. The other 7 monstrous geniuses and Huang Tianhua's pupils also shrank. Mubai. Nguyen Tan Lan bit her lips tightly. Her heart was stung by Chen Hao's piercing gaze. Boom. The expression of Xiang Tiange, whose nostrils were facing Qin Hao, also became grave. The eruption of the Berserk Devil stage would definitely be able to unleash several times his own fighting strength. Moreover, the other party's aura made him feel an intense threat. At this moment, The arrogance of a monstrous genius disappeared. The unyielding fighting spirit hidden in his bones erupted like a volcano. The thunder spear appeared. Buzz. Buzz buzz buzz. Kacha kacha. The moment Xianxia held the thunder spear, his entire person seemed to have turned into the thunder god. Endless thunder and lightning bloomed around his body, and his aura became many times stronger in an instant. So what if you're in the demonic realm? Explode with one spear. Take this. The thunder spear appeared. The void was suddenly flooded by the endless thunder and lightning spear, as if it had pierced through the order of time and space, making the world still. All the big shots, monstrous geniuses who had ended their battles early, and cultivators who had been defeated and disqualified, looked over in shock. Chapter 999. Boom. At this moment, Chen Hao's glabella suddenly flashed as if he had sensed the incoming attack. The divine weapon, Overlord Spear, appeared in his hand. Immediately, Chen Hao stabbed out with the spear, and a vast amount of energy gushed out from his body. At the same time, his physical body released an aura that was more powerful than that of an ancient beast. With a boom, he became one with the spear and rushed towards Xianxia. He's using a spear? When Chen Hao took out the Overlord Spear, Xianxia was quite surprised, but also very excited. The founder of the Thunderclap sect was the founder of the Spear Principle, and the Thunderclap Spear Technique was known as the #1 spear technique in the chaotic vast thousand worlds. He had already mastered the Thunderclap Spear Technique, and even if his absolute power was 30% weaker, he was confident that he could face any spear user, let alone the absolute power of the same level. The Mad Demon Realm is indeed fierce. No wonder he summoned us. His absolute power is not inferior to any of us. Unfortunately, he uses a spear, and he chose to fight in close combat. I forgot, the Mad Demon Realm is completely a subconscious way of fighting. Perhaps there will be an amazing eruption of combat skills. At that instant, one of the 9 peerless geniuses licked his lips with a stern and excited look in his eyes. Li Mubai was a genius who had risen all of a sudden. Although he was a lot younger than them, his strength had reached a shocking level. And Dandinga was very likely to be him. Although these monsters still did not understand why the 9 of them were asked to stop Li Mubai from entering the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra, there was no doubt that being able to fight with such a monstrous genius was something that made them excited. Humph, if you want to fight in close combat, then let's fight in close combat. In the Mad Demon Realm, combat skills will be improved several times. This is also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me to train. Rumble. In the terrifying explosion of energy, when Chen Hao violently smashed Xianxia's terrifying spear radiance, Xianxia suddenly raised his spear and rushed forward. Nguyen Tan Lan floated in the void, her heart thumping wildly. Although it was only a brief confrontation and had not officially begun, both Xianxia and Chen Hao's attacks were so powerful that it made one's hair stand on end. At the very least, Nguyen Tan Lan did not have the confidence to take on this attack. However, the situation that Nguyen Tan Lan was most worried about did not happen. Chen Hao was still immersed in the state of madness, and he ferociously attacked Xianxia. This also meant that unless Chen Hao was seriously injured to the point where he couldn't bear it, he would only become more violent because his subconscious had already started fighting. It was also because of this situation that Nguyen Tan Lan's worry naturally turned into anxiety for Li Mubai, worrying that he would be seriously injured. Even she herself did not realize that when this emotion arose, she did not think about whether Chen Hao would wake up or not. She was purely worried about the pain and failure of Chen Hao after being seriously injured. 5th Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang was also surprised. Li Mubai had only obtained the Overlord Spear for a limited time. Others might not know, but the two of them were very clear that this was not his area of expertise. The sword was his first weapon. In the state of madness, how could his subconscious choose the spear, and not the sword, which had already become an instinct? However, this doubt disappeared in an instant. Li Mubai, who had become one with the spear, used a strength that shocked the two of them to make the best explanation. At this moment, When Tanlan's master, Gao Xiangqing's eyes were as wide as copper bells. First, his disciple had displayed a strength that was beyond his imagination, especially after the fusion of yin and yang, as well as the mysterious aura that it contained. Even he could not figure it out at the moment. Furthermore, he had defeated his opponent in one move and ran to Li Mubai's vicinity. And now, Li Mubai, who had just strongly urged him to get as far away as possible and not get close to his disciple, had displayed a strength that made him dumbfounded. More importantly, Xiang Tiange's previous words indicated that Li Mubai was very likely to be Dandinga, who had obtained 30 immortal sutras. This contrast came too fast, so fast that he felt like he had been slapped in the face. But no matter what, now, before the real situation was revealed, he would never ask Tian Wanxiang to control his disciple again. The two of them approached each other violently and directly became close combat. Ding ding ding. Peng ping peng. In an instant, the fierce confrontation between the tip of the spear and the body of the spear was dazzling. The majestic and terrifying strength poured into the spear from the two of them. Every collision caused the space to explode, and the energy wreaked havoc in all directions. Even through the protective immortal light of the arena, the nearby practitioner's hair stood on end. Chi chi chi. Ah? Suddenly, to everyone's surprise, Xiang Tiange's body and the thunderclap spear contained terrifying lightning energy. Every time it collided with Chen Hao's overlord spear, it was unable to break through the blood-red energy on the overlord spear. But this time, the two long spears with different colors of immortal light collided once again. They actually intertwined together and did not immediately separate. The terrifying lightning energy quickly broke through the blood-red immortal light of Chen Hao's overlord spear, causing the overlord spear to slowly turn into the color of lightning from the tip of the spear. "Io, brother Little Egg's strength is not as good as his handsomeness. I'm so disappointed," Zhou Qinglong immediately said in a disgusting manner. However, in everyone's eyes, this was indeed the truth. Once Li Mubai's body was broken through by the opponent's energy, he would undoubtedly be severely injured. "Mubai, explode. Explode. You can still explode. Explode with all of your strength." When Tan Lan ignored everyone's sidelong glances and shouted towards the arena with a terrified face. At this moment, Chen Hao's blood-red, empty eyes contained a pain that was like blood dripping down. His long hair fluttered wildly, causing her heart to clench. "Break for me." Boom. Xiang Tiange did not doubt him in the slightest. Seeing his violent lightning energy, under the enhancement of the thunderclap spear technique, approaching Li Mubai step by step, he knew that it was time for him to unscrupulously explode with the power of Mount Tai. Following this loud cry of his, a crystal glow shot out in all directions from between his brows. His entire body buzzed and shook. The originally straight long spear once again surged forward. Immediately, an even more frightening wild and violent lightning strength suddenly surged out one after another. Seeing this scene, everyone thought that this soul-stirring battle between the pinnacle was about to end. Sidu Qian's expression was even more excited as he cursed in his heart. Although he knew that the chances of him dying were close to zero, after all, Xiang Tiange did not have an absolute advantage over Li Mubai in terms of strength. But that did not stop him from cursing at the same time. Zhang Chong, who was riding on a roller coaster, also had an excited expression on his face. Boom! The terrifying lightning energy finally spread to the end of Chen Hao's spear. At this moment, it was like an army collapsing, violently rushing towards Chen Hao's body. But at this moment, Chen Hao suddenly let out a ferocious roar like a beast. Chapter 1000. Ah! What? ZZZ. Kacha kacha kacha. Amidst the screams of countless people, Chen Hao opened his mouth and roared. A terrifying devouring power surged around his body. He actually began to devour the violent thunder energy that Xiang Tiange had burst out. This attack contained the profound mysteries of the Thundercrash spear art. It had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Even a planet could be destroyed, but Chen Hao, he was actually devouring it. When Tan Lan screamed, Her pretty face was full of horror. Looking at Chen Hao's blood-red, crazy, and empty eyes, Nguyen Tan Lan recalled the time she had spent with Chen Hao. She was filled with panic for no reason. It was the panic of losing Chen Hao. Boom. Just when everyone thought that Li Mubai had really gone mad, Chen Hao's body, which was filled with endless thunder and lightning, did not explode. Instead, it expanded at an astonishing speed. 100 times, 1,000 times, bang. At the same time as the Taoist robe shattered, a resplendent immortal light bloomed. At some point, Chen Hao had already put on the soft armor that the fifth Grand Elder had given him under the Taoist robe, preventing him from being naked in front of everyone. At this time, all the cultivators who were paying attention, including the big shots in the cultivation world and the divine senses in the void, widened their eyes in horror. Even the fifth Grand Elder and Tian Wanxiang, who had long known the secret of Li Mubai's body, were no exception. In any case, they did not expect Li Mubai's body to expand to such a terrifying extent. Moreover, it was still expanding. In the blink of an eye, he had swelled to nearly 3,000 times his original size, turning Chen Hao into an oval-shaped balloon. He let out another furious roar, and the instant he opened his mouth, he spat out endless thunderbolts. However, at this moment, as if he was about to explode and die, his body emitted crackling sounds. His balloon-like bloated body, although it was still expanding at this moment, it became solid. Moreover, as it grew larger and larger, his appearance and figure became more and more similar to his original appearance and appearance. The only difference was that he had become thousands of times larger, turning into a giant that looked down on the world like a mountain. How is this possible? Xianxia was dumbfounded. No matter how crazily he activated his energy god art, he still couldn't destroy Li Mubai, who was bearing all of his energy god art, even when he was almost drained of all his energy. At this moment, in front of Chen Hao, he was like a tiny ant. Oh my God. Is he still a human? 10 times transformation. It's too terrifying. Great change technique, 10,000 times giant body. How strong is his physical body? Everyone was stunned. The figures in the void all sucked in a breath of cold air. He had already estimated Chen Hao's potential to a great extent. Unexpectedly, he still underestimated him. Roar! Just as Chen Hao roared again, his mountain-like body, which was surrounded by thunder and lightning, suddenly shook. The endless thunder and lightning suddenly disappeared, as if they were all suppressed into his body. At the same time, he lifted his mountain-like foot, as if he was stepping on an ant, and stomped towards Xianxia, who was in shock and horror. At this moment, Xianxia suddenly turned into a stream of flowing light, soaring into the sky. The unyielding character and powerful strength of a monstrous genius were vividly displayed at this moment. He became one with the thunder spear, as if he had torn apart the void, and stabbed toward the giant Chen Hao's glabella as fast as lightning. Fatal blow. The ultimate mystery of the thunder spear technique, instant kill technique. This was a technique that condensed one's potential into one move. If it succeeded, the opponent would die, and if it failed, he would not have the strength to fight back. The situation had reversed too quickly, and once again there were exclamations of surprise. Zhou Qinglong, this sissy pervert, opened his mouth and stuck out his tongue. His orchid fingers condensed in the air, and his eyes were shining with the light of worship. Looking at the mountain-like Chen Hao, he suddenly froze. Her heart was beating so fast that it was thumping, ruthless enough. Fortunately, I have never fought with him, or else both sides would be injured, or even perish together. One of the 9 monstrous geniuses said in shock. The other people's pupils also shrank. Obviously, they did not feel any better and were very afraid of Xianxia's attack. No one would have thought that at this time, Xianxia would display the ultimate mystery of the thunder spear technique. If one was stabbed, then one's primordial spirit would definitely be destroyed. Buzz. But at this time, the mountain-like giant Chen Hao's body shook and disappeared into thin air. Great teleportation technique. The virtual shadow in the void shouted in horror. Bang. Chen Hao's enormous body was like a ghost. Not only did he avoid Xianxia's fatal spear at the critical moment, but he also flashed and kicked Xianxia, who had exhausted all his energy, away like a rubber ball. Boom, like a meteor across the sky. When he was in the air, his body made an explosive sound. Condense. Just at this moment, a ray of light suddenly poured down from the void. It seemed extremely slow, but it also seemed like there was no gap in time. It enveloped Xianxia's body. His body, which was about to collapse, suddenly stopped exploding. Little guy, you have a sense of propriety, not bad. While they were worried about Xianxia, no one knew that the virtual shadow's voice sounded in Chenhao's mind. It's just a competition. It's a pity that such a monstrous genius died. Everyone should cherish their own life, whether it's for themselves or others. Chenhao said indifferently in his mind. Well said. The old man underestimated you after all. However, there are still 8 rounds. Everything has its weakness, and you may not be able to win all of them. Thank you for reminding me. Reincarnation, awakening, this life, the previous life, it's all me. Senior, you don't have to be wary of me. I don't think I'm an outsider. The great Tao is not heartless. It seems that although you're only at the great Luo realm now, you can also reincarnate with the old man. Very well, if I continue to call myself the old man, I'll be a little arrogant. Before you reincarnate, you should not be worse than the old man. Sorry, senior, before reincarnation, I can only fully awaken when I reach a certain realm. But I've only awakened a little, Chenhao said. After knowing that the other party did not know the real reason why he was here, Chenhao naturally would not be so stupid as to say that he was not a native of the chaos after reincarnation. The old man naturally knows that you don't know, but the old man can judge that the great teleportation skill is not something that anyone can cultivate, and not everyone has the heart to cultivate it. And your body is not something that ordinary people can have. Well, you can continue to prepare for the next round. Chapter 1001. Xianxia, who had already arrived outside the arena, had a lingering fear and a pale face. If not for the timely intervention of the immortal Scripture City Master, his physical body would have collapsed at this moment. However, as a top monstrous genius, he, who had experienced countless life and death battles, faintly felt that this was not entirely because of the City Master's intervention. If Li Mubai had directly used the overwhelming energy the moment he kicked him, his body would definitely have exploded, and there would be no time to rescue him. The 8 monstrous geniuses stared at this scene, and their expressions became solemn. Even Zhou Qinglong, the sissy, recovered a rare bit of a man's expression. Li Mubai, Sidu Qian and Zhang Chong clenched their fists and loosened them again. A deep sense of despair and powerlessness emerged in their hearts. Xianxia, one of the top monstrous geniuses in the chaotic vast thousand worlds, and he had been famous for a long time, was defeated by Li Mubai. What kind of concept was that? Even if they had obtained the immortal scripture magic treasure, the chances of them being able to fight against Li Mubai in this lifetime were slim. The legendary Great Change Technique and Great Teleportation Technique, Li Mubai actually used 2 of them. Amazing! Really amazing! Do you remember how Dandinga left when he obtained the 30th immortal scripture magic treasure? He disappeared silently. I'm afraid he used a method to conceal his aura, combined with the great teleportation technique. I feel that Li Mubai should be the real Dandinga. Xianxia, who is so strong, lost. Who else could it be except for Dandinga, who could obtain 30 immortal scripture magic treasures? Nguyen Tan Lan suddenly turned into a stream of light and flew excitedly to the arena where Chenhao was. Mubai. Like a little bee, Nguyen Tan Lan flew up to Chenhao's empty eyes. She looked at Chenhao with an admiring gaze and shouted, "Can you restore your original appearance? You've won. Put away the medallion and let's go back." Hearing Nguyen Tan Lan's words, Chenhao suddenly stretched out his hand. With a flash of light, Nguyen Tan Lan stood on his hand. Soon after, he, who still maintained his giant form, took out the token and stepped out of the arena. The surrounding cultivators who had won and lost immediately scattered in all directions. Fuck, that was a towering mountain. If they were not careful, they would have been trampled on like ants. When Tan blushed. Being placed in the palm of Chen Hao's hand, she couldn't help but feel a sense of security from the depths of her heart. Even if the sky fell, this big guy would definitely hold it up with her. Just as Nguyen Tan was slightly intoxicated, Chen Hao sat down cross-legged. Suddenly, he flipped his hand, as if he was going to put her down. However, Nguyen Tan, who was unprepared, fell directly. Nguyen Tan didn't think much of it. After a scream, she directly summoned her energy and slowly landed on Chen Hao's body. However, at this moment, many people around suddenly widened their eyes, revealing a strange and wretched light. At the same time, Chen Hao was also stunned in his heart. Coincidentally or not, Nguyen Tan landed right in the middle of his crotch. On Chen Hao's body, which was 10,000 times larger than his, Nguyen Tan was not much bigger than an ant. Moreover, Nguyen Tan paused for a moment before rising into the air again and flying onto Chen Hao's shoulder. Mubai, are you unable to shrink for the time being? Do you need to refine the energy you devoured? Although Nguyen Tan knew that Chen Hao wouldn't answer, she still asked. After asking, she continued, then let's wait for you to recover first, then we'll return to the palace. The second round will only be held tomorrow. Qing Lan, Li Mubai, is it Dandinga? At this moment, Gao Xiangxing's divine thought floated over. Nguyen Tan was slightly stunned. She said, Master, this disciple doesn't know if you're already Dao companions with him, haven't you always been together? No, he might be or he might not be. When I was immersed in cultivation, I don't know if he went out. Nguyen Tan said. She couldn't admit it, but of course, as her master, she couldn't deny it either. The 30 Immortal Sutra treasures were already on her. But what if Li Mubai woke up and asked her for them? Therefore, she definitely couldn't tell her master the truth at this time. Otherwise, if her master took a few of the Immortal Sutra treasures, it would be troublesome. Alright, it doesn't matter if he is or not, you're now his Dao companion. You've lost your primordial Yin body, so your future can only be entrusted to him. 3 Immortal Sutra treasures. Even compared to the top monstrous geniuses, you're not inferior. This disciple will do her best. After all, he's in the demonic realm. As for what will happen after he wakes up, this disciple can't be sure. Nguyen Tan said bitterly in her heart. She naturally knew that her master was doing it for her own good, but what her master didn't know was that of the 3 Immortal Sutra treasures, 2 of them were obtained with the help of Li Mubai. The other one might be the same as Zhang Chong and Sidu Qian, possibly because of Li Mubai. How could the real her compare to a beautiful and talented monstrous girl? In the cruel world of cultivation, in order to pursue the peak of martial arts, no one would give up a Dao companion who could help them improve and achieve greater achievements just because of pity for others. You must have confidence in yourself. This disciple understands. Previously, Gao Xiangxing couldn't wait for Li Mubai to stop pestering Nguyen Tan. At this time, however, he couldn't wait for Li Mubai to be with his disciple. Such a change was unexpected, but Gao Xiangxing didn't hesitate at all. Even if he was ridiculed by Tian Wanxiang, it didn't matter. Everything was for his disciple to achieve greater achievements. It was worth it. In the martial arts practice field, the fierce battles were coming to an end. Only a few opponents who were equal in strength were still clenching their teeth and fighting. But the arenas where the battles had ended also disappeared. In the 256,000 battles, the defeated cultivators were all dejected. They were more or less injured, and many of them were seriously injured. However, none of them died or their physical bodies were destroyed. And all of this was done by the shadow in the void with the strength of one person. This shadow controlled 256,000 battles at the same time. Its strength was unfathomable. Countless people didn't even pay attention to the battle arenas. Instead, they paid attention to the giant Chen Hao and Nguyen Tan on his shoulder. Chen Hao's mountain-like body made cracking sounds from time to time and was shrinking bit by bit. Moreover, as time went by, the speed of shrinking became faster and faster. Before the battle ended, Chen Hao returned to his normal state. The moment his hollow eyes opened, endless lightning flashed. At this time, Nguyen Tan Lan, who had jumped down from Chen Hao's shoulder, didn't hesitate at all. She stepped forward and held Chen Hao's hand. The two of them turned into a stream of light, leaving the shocked crowd behind. In such a short time, the terrifying energy and magical power of Xiang Tianga's Thunder Crash spear technique were completely refined. Chapter 1002. On this day, the name of the Hunyuan sect's Li Mubai spread throughout the entire cultivation world through the almighty cultivators present. The title of Dandinga, who had obtained 30 Immortals Sutra magic treasures, was forcefully crowned on Li Mubai's head, even though no one had any conclusive evidence. Defeating the Thunder Spear Xiang Tianga, a top genius, directly elevated Li Mubai to the ranks of the top geniuses in the entire chaotic boundless world. This also made the Hunyuan sect, who had lost face in the previous Immortals Sutra Holy Land final competition, feel greatly elated after failing to even let a single disciple enter the Immortals Sutra Holy Land. Li Mubai, Nguyen Tan Lan, Sid Qian, and Zhang Chong. Just the fact that the four of them had obtained Immortals Sutra magic treasures was enough to cause a sensation in the entire cultivation world, not to mention that Nguyen Tan Lan had obtained 3 Immortals Sutra magic treasures alone, and Li Mubai was the legendary Dandinga who had obtained 30 Immortals Sutra magic treasures alone. When the Hunyuan sect's sect master and the cultivators of the Hunyuan sect received the news, they could not believe it was true. In particular, the elders and disciples who had previously rewarded Li Mubai with the right to enter the secret grotto heaven were even more dumbfounded. Similarly, the second-rate academy where Li Mubai was in was also dumbfounded and shocked. Clap, clap, clap. In the palace, in the cultivation room, Chen Hao and Nguyen Tan Lan were once again immersed in the soul and body fusion. Of course, this was initiated by Nguyen Tan Lan. Today, Chen Hao did not wake up during the great battle, which was undoubtedly something that made Nguyen Tan Lan very happy. Naturally, she would not waste any time. She was not as optimistic as her master, because she knew her own capabilities. He was even more aware of how terrifying Li Mubai was. The more this was the case, the more she had to cherish this limited time. Each of the 9 monstrous geniuses has a very strong aura. No one else is weaker than Xiang Tianga. Nguyen Tan Lan didn't know that Chen Hao, who was immersed in the dual cultivation, was still able to spare some of his attention to consider the current situation. If I want to defeat them, I have to enter the true state of madness. This means that my true combat strength is far inferior to theirs, especially in terms of absolute power. It seemed that Chen Hao had won the battle easily. However, only he knew that things were not as simple as they seemed. At the beginning of the match, after sensing his opponent's aura, Chen Hao directly released the unbearable pain sealed in his mind from the macro world in his mind, directly entering the true state of madness. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to match up to his opponent in terms of absolute power. Not to mention winning, it would already be a miracle if he didn't suffer heavy injuries. After he had truly entered the state of madness, his combat strength had definitely increased by several times. However, even so, his victory over Xiang Tianga was still thrilling. Daluo Jinxian's perfect realm. No matter how talented a cultivator is, he still needs time to accumulate. I still have a long way to go. This was also the reason why the older the Daluo Jinxian was, the more powerful he was. In fact, it was the same for every realm. However, when a Daluo Jinxian advanced to the Hongmeng realm, the barrier between realms was incomparable to any other. Many people were imprisoned in this realm for hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years, or even their entire lives, unable to break through. Those who could advance to the Grand Mist Supremacy realm after being imprisoned for tens of thousands of years were all top geniuses. Such a long period of time would naturally cause a huge gap in combat strength between cultivators of the same realm. Of course, more importantly, after reaching this realm, rapid advancement didn't necessarily mean that one would become stronger or more monstrous. Otherwise, monstrous geniuses like Xiang Tianga, Yin Xian, and Zhou Qinglong would have already triggered divine punishment and advanced to the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. The reason was simple. Hongmeng Qi and the Great World Imprint. The stronger and deeper the understanding of Hongmeng Qi, the stronger one would be after advancing to the Hongmeng realm. The more perfect the Great World Imprint was, the stronger the embryonic form of the Great World would be. Once one stepped into the Hongmeng realm, the heavenly Tao of the Great World would be even more perfect, and the degree of improvement would also be greater. This was the most fundamental thing. It was something that had been finalized in the Daluo Golden Wonderland. Once one broke through to the Hongmeng realm, it would be thousands of times more difficult to perfect the embryonic form of the Great World. You reap what you sow. This was the logic behind it. The quality of the embryonic form of the Great World would determine what one would obtain after stepping into the Hongmeng realm. There are still 8 matches left. I have to win, and I have to win strongly. The stronger the divine powers, battle techniques, and strength, the better. Chen Hao thought to himself. He was very clear about his current situation. It was not that he did not believe in the master of the immortals' scripture's sacred ground, but he had always believed that the entire world of cultivation was a world where the strong were respected. This was the case in the primordial chaos vast thousand worlds, and it was the same in the chaotic vast thousand worlds. The master of the immortals' scripture's sacred ground naturally treated him with respect not because he was afraid of him. Of course, this was what the master of the immortals' scripture's sacred ground thought. He was also afraid of the vast thousand worlds that he belonged to. Then, the stronger the talent, battle strength, potential, and divine powers he displayed, the less the master of the immortals' scripture's sacred ground would make things difficult for him. Just as Chen Hao's strand of consciousness was still thinking, he suddenly felt that Nguyen Tan Lan's peak had come very quickly this time. It had only been a short while, and she was about to explode. She's really hardworking. It's really rare to see a woman with such a strong obsession to reach the peak of martial arts. Hiss! Chen Hao put away this strand of consciousness and wholeheartedly integrated into the graceful and tender body that was tossing and turning under his body. Although he did not want to admit it, he had to say that, at this time, no matter how strong a man's will was, he would immerse himself in the lower body to think about the most primitive throbbing of human beings. There was no other way. If he lost interest in this feeling, he was afraid that he was not a man, or at most, a sissy and pervert like Zhou Qinglong. The next day, when Chen Hao and Nguyen Tan Lan appeared at the martial arts practice field hand in hand, Chen Hao did not feel anything, but Nguyen Tan Lan, who coiled her hair and held Chen Hao's arm, became more and more natural and comfortable, as if she no longer had any psychological burden about the identity of Li Mubai's Taoist companion. What was even more surprising was that Nguyen Tan Lan's abundant essence, energy, and spirit, and the invisible aura of harmony that bloomed around her body, were clearly stronger than yesterday. Even though everyone knew that the two were definitely cultivating the fusion of yin and yang, Nguyen Tan Lan's improvement was really too shocking. One day was different. Even if the palace had the laws of time and space, it was really too fast. Gao Xiangqing, Sidu Qian, and the others who knew Nguyen Tan Lan's talent and potential were all shocked. They understood that all of this was because of Li Mubai. And it was very likely that it was related to Li Mubai's demonic frenzy realm. In their minds, perhaps Li Mubai's demonic frenzy realm could give Nguyen Tan Lan great benefits during dual cultivation. Of course, this was only a guess. After all, none of them had experienced the fusion of yin and yang in the demonic frenzy realm. Chapter 1003. What? Thunder Spear Art. How is this possible? In the second battle, Chen Hao once again faced one of the 9 great monstrous geniuses. In the state of madness, he was still holding the Overlord's spear in his hand, his aura soaring to the heavens. But the most shocking thing was that the moment he struck, the endless spear radiance contained the mystery of the Thunder Spear Art that Xiang Tiange was proficient in. This caused the entire martial arts field to explode. The elders of the cultivation world watching the battle all cried out in shock. The illusory figure in the air was slightly shocked, and Xiang Tiange, who had already been eliminated, but still had the qualifications to watch the battle, sucked in a breath of cold air, his eyes wide open in shock. What the? Is this still a human? After countless years of painstaking practice, He had finally reached the ultimate level of the Thunder Spear technique, the best spear technique in the chaotic vast thousand worlds. However, Li Mubai had actually secretly learned it by exchanging blows with him. He did not believe that the other party was able to obtain the mantra of the Thunder Spear art. That was simply impossible. There was only one explanation. Yesterday, after the other party had completely devoured his energy and divine ability, he had comprehended the mystery of the Thunder Spear art from it. The state of madness. It must be the state of madness that gave him a terrifying comprehension ability. Almost in an instant, countless people thought of this possibility. The state of madness was an existence that was even more difficult to obtain than enlightenment. In this state, the eruption of potential was undoubtedly all round. Apart from this explanation, no one would believe that Li Mubai's comprehension ability was so strong that he could comprehend the mystery of the Thunder Spear art in one day. But in the air, the illusory figure of the immortal scripture sacred ground frowned slightly. He knew that Chen Hao was in a state of clarity. But at the same time, he also discovered that Chen Hao could enter the true state of madness at any time. This also meant that the state of madness that cultivators yearned for had become an inherent ability of Chen Hao. Then, in this state, with such shocking comprehension ability, what kind of secret technique could he cultivate? Not to mention other cultivators, at this moment, even he was a little envious and jealous. To be able to give birth to such a monstrous genius, just how strong is it? And he also possesses the great teleportation technique, the great abnormality technique, and these were all displayed by him. The immortal scripture's sacred ground controller began to ponder. In the second battle, Chen Hao's Overlord Spear contained the mystery of the Thunder Spear art. Although his comprehension of the Thunder Spear art was far inferior to Xiang Tiange, but with his exquisite battle techniques, he was able to unleash to the fullest. When the spear struck out, thunder rumbled, and it was incomparably violent. However, the attacks were all aimed at the weakest points of the monstrous genius's divine ability. It was clearly a very violent and powerful spear technique, but it used a purely offensive stance to force the opponent into a completely defensive stance. In the end, this battle lasted for a full 4 hours after all the matches had ended. The monstrous genius let out a hysterical roar and left the arena. He did not even use his ultimate move. It wasn't that he didn't want to. Firstly, Chen Hao's attacks were too violent. He didn't even give him a chance to breathe. Secondly, once he used his ultimate move, according to yesterday's situation, his chances of winning were still very small. With these two situations stacked together, there was no need for him to use it at the risk of being seriously injured or even having his body destroyed. There was really no need. In the second battle, Chen Hao displayed such astonishing battle techniques that seemed to be innate. To a certain extent, it consolidated the information that Li Mubai had stepped into the ranks of the top monstrous geniuses. At the same time, some cultivators who did not know the truth also realized that the 9 monstrous geniuses who should not have appeared here must have come because of Li Mubai. And they could basically confirm that this was the intention of the immortal scripture's sacred ground controller. Otherwise, it would be impossible to be so lucky to encounter the 9 monstrous geniuses. And the appearance of the 9 monstrous geniuses because of Li Mubai also made Dandinga's identity even more certain that he was Li Mubai. To be able to obtain 30 immortal scripture magic treasures at the same time, and to be able to grab them one by one, besides Li Mubai in the demonic realm, who else could do this? But why did the immortal scripture's sacred ground controller do this? It was not something that everyone could measure. And in the third battle on the third day, Chen Hao powerfully displayed his ultimate move that shocked everyone, the great 5 elements art, and won again. On the 4th day, the 5th day, the 6th day, and the 7th day, every single battle stimulated everyone's nerves and bottom line, and every single battle could erupt with ultimate techniques that exceeded everyone's imagination. Extreme physical strength, terrifying soul attacks, pure and shocking slaughter will, and sword Dao will that was high to the point that it completely surpassed the golden immortal realm. Under Chen Hao's all-out performance, The controller of the immortal scripture's sacred ground became more and more shocked. Fifth Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang had long been numb. Such a scene, how could he still be his disciple? Or rather, how could he still be qualified to be his master, to teach and dispel doubts? This display of strength that was more and more beyond imagination made Fifth Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang feel calmer and calmer. He felt that the feelings between him and Li Mubai were gradually fading. This was also a very helpless matter. Although they knew that Yi Shiwen was their own disciple, he had suddenly become another person that surpassed their understanding. In the end, it affected their hearts. If Chen Hao was weaker and did not display too many powerful divine abilities and ultimate moves, and did not display those exquisite combat skills, perhaps their feelings for Li Mubai would be deeper. But now, they knew that their disciple should be an outsider from the endless cycle of reincarnation and had completely awakened. Although he was still under the control of his subconscious, but in this situation, once he awakened, it was impossible for him to return to the past. It was a very contradictory mentality. On his path to becoming an expert, without their blood, sweat, and tears, he would not be moved and resonated with. If they were his cultivation companions, accompanying and helping him along the way, witnessing his growth, the nature and feeling would be completely different. Zhou Qinglong, it's up to you. The 8 of us have been defeated consecutively. Whether or not we can regain some face, it's up to you. If you can't win, you can at least not lose. Tie him down. Yes. To be honest, I've never seen such a monstrous guy. I'm a little suspicious, whether it's because of the Berserk demon realm. I'm also very suspicious. The appearance of the Berserk demon realm in the Daluo Golden Wonderland is already very rare. After it appeared, being able to immerse himself in it is even more inconceivable. But he can actually do it as he pleases. When the battle is over, he completely erupts, and after the battle, all of his divine sense is sealed. It's fine if it's sealed, but through a battle he can comprehend our ultimate moves. This is too much of a sissy, a monster. Also, did you hear that 300 years ago he was still trash, not even worthy of carrying our shoes? Hee hee. You guys are so stupid. I've already thought of a possibility. It's normal for you guys to lose to Brother Little Egg. At this moment, Zhou Qinglong, this sissy, stretched out his orchid fingers, tilted his head, and rolled his eyes as he looked at everyone. Chapter 1004. What's possible? Yin Xian, who had just finished today's battle and was still covered in blood, asked immediately. He, who had obtained the Fire Lotus Immortal Seal, thought that even if he couldn't defeat the other 8 geniuses, he would at least have the upper hand, and his strength would definitely rank first. However, today he was the one to fight, and the last one to fight was the sissy Zhou Qinglong. It's very simple. Brother Little Egg, it should be Li Mubai and Little White. Don't you think so? That's right. In the test of the Crystal Palace, he and his cultivation partner finished in less than a day, which is enough to prove that their understanding of the Immortal Sutra and their immortal fate is extremely strong. His cultivation partner, Nguyen Tanlon, was able to obtain 3 Immortal Sutra magic treasures, which is also very good proof. Other than Li Mubai, no one else could have such a strong immortal fate. Yes, dumb. Think about it, how could the Immortal Sutra Sanctuary stop Little White, who has such a strong immortal fate? That's what we don't understand. Zhou Qinglong, don't keep us in suspense. Will it kill you to say it all in one breath? Hey, little Xianxian, he's not in a hurry. Why are you in such a hurry? You have to eat one bite at a time, and speak one sentence at a time. Don't you think so? Don't you think so? Yin Xian glared at Zhou Qinglong angrily. After a long while, he could only say, Go on, that's a good boy. Since the Grandpa Controller wants us to stop Little White from entering the Immortal Sutra Sanctuary, it must be because he doesn't want him to comprehend the real 3 Immortal Sutras. Trash. Go on. Little White is so handsome and has such a strong immortal fate. Why does the Controller hate him? Sissy, you fucker, after beating around the bush, it's still the same. What the fuck are you talking about? At this time, Xianxia couldn't stand it anymore. Can't you have some patience? Just by looking at this point, we can't figure it out, right? Then have you ever wondered why Little White was so weak 300 years ago, but now, he's stronger than you 8 idiots? Also, according to the news, Little White wasn't this handsome and charming before. Ioyo, he's really handsome. Don't worry, I'm a little excited when I think about it. He reconstructed his golden body and looked like a completely different person. What does this mean? Everyone was slightly taken aback. And Little White has defeated all of you in 8 battles over the past 8 days. Many of the divine abilities and laws that he used are legendary. Even the sect master of the Hunyuan sect wouldn't be able to use them. Little fools, have you thought of anything? Wasn't she very smart? This time, the 8 of them did not have any reaction to Zhou Qinglong's disgusting act. All of them frowned. Immediately, they looked towards the sissy and said, "Endless cycle of reincarnation. Outsiders?" There was a look of horror in everyone's eyes. Without a doubt, this was the only possibility that could explain why the controller had summoned them to stop Li Mubai, who had a strong immortal fate, from entering the sacred place of the Immortal Sutra. If that's the case, why didn't the controller kill him directly? It's not as simple as you think. How strong is the vast 1,000 domains that could give birth to such a monstrous genius like Li Mubai? No one in the endless cycle of reincarnation can really kill him before he recovers to the realm he was at before he reincarnated. Since he has reincarnated to our vast 1,000 domains with his current realm, even if he dies, he can only reincarnate here. When he awakens again, he will carry the memories of this life. Will he still be discovered by us? Once he steps into the cutting path true immortal, or the grand mist supremacy realm, with his terrifying talent, he can leave the vast 1,000 domains and leave a mark. If he bears a grudge against the controller, what will happen? That's right. The controller asked us to stop him, but did not directly block him outside. This is enough to show that the controller does not want to incur a grudge with him. If I'm not wrong, after the sacred place of the Immortal Sutra ends, he will be directly sent to the Hongmeng domain by the controller, and cut off the mark of our vast 1,000 domains. It seems that this is the only way. In that case, he can only enter the great world of Xiandi, which is open to all vast 1,000 domains. The 9 monstrous geniuses were all existences who were about to step into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. They were all summoned back by the controller from the Hongmeng domain through the mark of the vast 1,000 domains. Naturally, they were very clear about the Hongmeng domain. Therefore, they quickly thought of the same thing as the 5th Grand Elder. Well, I'm going to prepare. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a good time with Little White. Little idiots, goodbye. After Zhou Qinglong finished speaking, he turned into a stream of light and disappeared directly from a tavern in the Immortal Sutra City. It seemed that he did not care that Li Mubai was an outsider at all. Damn pervert! Yin Xian scolded just after Zhou Qinglong left. Do you think this pervert can stop Li Mubai tomorrow? It depends on how you put it. The pervert's combat power is not as good as any of us, but it's impossible for any of us to win against him, unless it's a life and death battle at all costs. But if we fight him in the arena, I'm afraid we'll all lose. This should be the reason why the controller put him last. However, I have a vague feeling that Li Mubai might have an even more shocking trump card. We've shown a new ability in each of the 8 matches. It's really a little scary. It's difficult to win, but it should be easy to stay undefeated. The damn pervert is an existence that can't be killed. Phew. In the palace, spring was still boundless, but a wisp of Chen Hao's mind was still thinking about the final battle tomorrow. He had already noticed the sissy Zhou Qinglong a long time ago. Chen Hao's powerful soul perception could clearly sense the boundless vitality surging within his body. What surprised him the most was that even the vitality released by the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree was not as pure as this. Every single cell in his body was like a life of its own, and the vitality it possessed was beyond imagination. Until now, Chen Hao had not thought of a way to deal with Zhou Qinglong. He was definitely an unkillable cockroach. Unlike cockroaches, he was not only unkillable, he was also very powerful. Zhou Qinglong, the monstrous genius of the top sect, Green Lotus School. 10,000 years ago, he stepped into the complete Daluo Jingxian realm. He's an existence that the 8 monstrous geniuses are not willing to provoke. His combat power is the weakest among the 9, but his absolute power is not weaker than anyone else's. This is determined by his innate talent. I must enter the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra. How do I break it? Chen Hao had fought with the 8 monstrous geniuses for 8 consecutive days. He had shocked everyone, but the 8 of them had also shocked Chen Hao. Especially today's Yin Xian. His Fire Lotus Immortal Seal was so powerful that it made people's hair stand on end. Chen Hao, who was in a crazed state, had a hard time winning against him. And Zhou Qinglong was arranged to be the last, so he was obviously the most important one. Chapter 1005. I'll only see after the real fight. After pondering for a long time, Chen Hao combed through all the divine ability laws he had mastered. However, he still couldn't think of a way to deal with the sissy Zhou Qinglong. There was nothing he could do. Nguyen Tan Lan won the first 8 matches easily. Firstly, she was strong. Secondly, she was very lucky. The opponents randomly assigned to her were not on the same level as her at all. This was enough to prove that her immortal fate was very good. Moreover, every day that she appeared, Nguyen Tan Lan gave people a new feeling. 1 change in a day, 9 changes in 9 days, just like the 9 transformations of the divine silkworm. She changed every day. It had to be said that the fusion of yin and yang was an excellent cultivation method. Being able to choose such a heaven-defying freak like Chen Hao was a blessing that every female cultivator had accumulated over 100 lifetimes. Of course, this also required Nguyen Tan Lan to have a high level of comprehension. Otherwise, even if Chen Hao deliberately shared his supernatural power and cultivation comprehension during the fusion of soul and body, if her comprehension was poor, she would not be able to understand much. Similarly, Chen Hao did not seal himself and transform into a mortal like he did with the sisters. He comprehended together with them to improve their comprehension and potential from the root. Chen Hao had the mentality of compensating Nguyen Tan Lan. He instilled all the knowledge into her. Although this was a little excessive, it was undoubtedly the way to let Nguyen Tan Lan improve at the fastest speed and obtain the greatest benefits in the shortest time. Chen Hao did not know how the master of the Immortal's scripture Holy Land would deal with him in the end. He would be an outsider, but he knew that he would not be allowed to continue awakening and growing in the vast 1,000 chaotic worlds. Chen Hao still understood this basic common sense. However, he, Li Mubai, Zhao Guiyu, and the others had very limited knowledge of the Hongmeng domain. Otherwise, with Chen Hao's shrewdness, he would naturally be able to predict his ending. Let's go, let's go. Quick. Today's duel will definitely be more exciting. The earlier we get there, the earlier we can get a seat. Damn it, I don't have the qualifications to enter the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra, but to be able to enjoy such a peak battle, this trip was not in vain. That's right, let's go. Chi. Before dawn, the 510,000 cultivators who had been eliminated in the final competition went to the Immortal Scripture City's core martial arts practice field in advance. Today, there were only 2,000 cultivators left. The 1,000 who won would obtain the qualifications to enter the Immortal Sutra Holy Land. So far, only 4 people remained in the Hunyuan sect: Sidu Qian, Zhang Chong, Nguyen Tan Lan, and Li Mubai. Zhang Chong's strength was not enough, but he, who had obtained the Immortal Sutra magic treasure, was assigned to very weak opponents in every round. Even so, as the number of people decreased, the remaining ones would become stronger and stronger. However, everything seemed to have been calculated. The other weaker cultivators would be extremely lucky to encounter weak opponents and make it to the last few rounds. Then they would be used as puppets for people like Zhang Chong to win. This could only be said to be extremely lucky. Of course, this luck naturally could not be true great luck, but the luck condensed by the master of the Immortal Scripture City. Since ancient times, there had been no precedent of disciples who had obtained the Immortal Sutra magic treasure not being able to enter the Immortal Scripture Holy Land. Li Mubai has encountered the 9 great evildoers in every round. Today, he will definitely meet Zhou Qinglong. That's for sure. I really don't know what's going on. This is obviously deliberately arranged. Everyone can see that the 9 great evildoers were originally impossible to appear here. Now that they have returned and are all fighting with Li Mubai, it's obviously an arrangement aimed at him. Perhaps the master of the immortal scripture city deliberately let these evildoers exchange pointers. Probably. They are all destined to be awesome people in the future of our chaotic, boundless world. They have been deliberately cultivated by the master of the immortal scripture city. How enviable! Who do you think will win, Li Mubai or Zhou Qinglong? Of course it's Li Mubai. The 8 great evildoers have been defeated by Li Mubai. How can Zhou Qinglong be an exception? It is said that among the 9 great evildoers, Zhou Qinglong's combat power is the worst. That sissy, cough cough. It's a pity for his talent. You're wrong. Haven't you heard that the 8 great evildoers are most afraid of Zhou Qinglong? Zhou Qinglong's combat power is indeed the worst, but he is the most difficult to deal with. The 8 great evildoers do not dare to provoke him. In the arena battle, none of the 8 great evildoers can defeat him. Similarly, Li Mubai is also difficult. No way. You are relatively young. Zhou Qinglong achieved the title of a peak chaotic evildoer 10,000 years ago and stepped into the Hongmeng region. After disappearing for so long, you may not know the true power of Zhou Qinglong. He is an unkillable monster. Mubai, you must win. Today, your opponent should be one of the 9 great evildoers, Zhou Qinglong. I really don't know why we will meet each other. This is obviously a deliberate arrangement. Could it be because of the 30 immortal sutras? I asked Master, and he said that there may be something hidden. Your 2 masters are silent and did not explain, but they seem to know something. At dawn, Nguyen Tan Lan and Chen Hao flew over hand in hand. As they flew, they communicated telepathically. Chen Hao naturally could not answer her. Nguyen Tan Lan did not expect, or rather, did not want Chen Hao to answer her. If he answered, it meant that he was awake. What did being awake mean? Nguyen Tan Lan would still think about that feeling some time ago. Now, she did not dare to think about it. She did not want to think about it. Everyone was selfish. If it was losing, she would rather Li Mubai never wake up. She would rather he be with her forever. Chi. A bright green light suddenly caught up with Chen Hao and Nguyen Tan Lan from behind. All right, little Lan Lan, you're so lucky. I'm so envious. Little Bai Bai is so handsome and strong. You should be happy. Don't mind me later. I'll have a good time with little Bai Bai. I've waited for 8 days. I'm so looking forward to it. Oh, so handsome. Nguyen Tan Lan looked at this pervert who came without warning and felt uncomfortable. Without saying anything, she held Chen Hao's hand and suddenly sped up. At the same time, she set up a seal around the 2 of them. I will not steal your man. So petty. Zhou Qinglong stroked her with his orchid fingers and said, coquettishly. However, when Nguyen Tan Lan and Chen Hao were far away, his eyes flashed with an undetectable light. He slowly stretched out his soft, feminine hand. A strand of hair the length of a thumb appeared in his palm. I am very curious about how the grandpa controller will treat Little White. I can only do something to you, hee. This was a strand of Nguyen Tan Lan's hair. As long as he could sense the life energy in this strand of hair, he could lock onto Nguyen Tan Lan. No matter where she was, she could not escape his surveillance. Wuxia, Xianxia, and the other 8 masters were most afraid of Zhou Qinglong pestering them. It was also because of Zhou Qinglong's perverted ability. Chapter 1006. Ouch! Zhou Qinglong, who was looking at a section of Nguyen Tan Lan's hair proudly, suddenly widened his eyes and screamed. A section of Nguyen Tan Lan's hair suddenly burst into flames that contained the mysteries of the fiery lotus celestial seal, and it spontaneously burned into ashes. Little White. It must be Little White's doing. It scared me to death. How did he find out? Did he find out? He's so powerful. Zhou Qinglong did not dare to directly take the hair that contained the aura of life from Chen Hao's body. Instead, he chose Nguyen Tan Lan because the aura around Chen Hao's body, especially his physical body, made him feel that even a strand of hair contained a terrifying amount of blood energy and energy. If he were to steal a section of hair, he would not be able to fool everyone. With his cultivation level, it would be very easy for him to tamper with Nguyen Tan Lan's body. However, he did not expect that it would be destroyed. Little White is immersed in the realm of madness. How could he find out? Could it be Ouchie's Earth Daddy? Zhou Qinglong's eyes shone with shock. He thought of a possibility, and his orchid fingers trembled a little. Beams of immortal light gushed out from the center of the huge martial arts arena. 1,000 arenas that were several times larger than the previous ones slowly rose up. The final round of the competition was about to begin. Countless cultivators had already filled the martial arts arena, waiting for the arrival of today's exciting battle. Out of 512,000 people, only 2,000 had qualified for the 9th round of the competition. 510,000 people had become spectators. At the spectators' stand for the big shots of the cultivation world, they opened their eyes in anticipation and looked in the direction of Chen Hao and the sissy Zhou Qinglong. Although many people did not know the reason, they knew that Li Mubai would definitely face the last of the 9 great evildoers, Zhou Qinglong. There was no doubt that, apart from the disciples who were still qualified to participate in the competition, the most important thing today was the battle between Li Mubai and Zhou Qinglong. Today's final battle, the winner will be qualified to enter the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra. Begin. Buzz. Chi, 2,000 people, 2,000 tokens automatically left the control of the crowd and flew back to their respective arenas. Chen Hao still chased the tokens directly. I'm so excited. The sissy Zhou Qinglong seemed to be even more excited. When his voice that gave people goosebumps rang out, his entire body turned into a dark green crystal. Just like Chen Hao, he chased after the token and ascended the arena. Zhou Qinglong, Li Mubai, the time limit for your battle is at sunset, when the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra opens. If the winner is not decided by then all of you will be eliminated. For the missing person, the old man will directly choose one of the people present according to the immortal fate. Crash. What everyone did not expect was that the phantom of the Immortal Sutra city controller would say such words at this time. Obviously, he was very clear about Zhou Qinglong's ability and concluded that it would be difficult to determine the winner of this battle in a short period of time. That was why he said such words. This also caused the crowd to suddenly burst into a heated discussion. Especially those who understood Zhou Qinglong's situation, they felt that the Immortal Sutra city controller, from the beginning until now, was completely set up obstacles for the newly risen super monster Li Mubai. He did not want to let him enter the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra at all. However, there were not many who could figure out why, especially these contestants. Hey, Grandpa Controller, you also look down on me. I will definitely be able to settle Little White before nightfall. Zhou Qinglong stretched out his orchid fingers and twisted his but as he looked at the figure in the void and said, it had to be said that in this guy's eyes, there was no fear at all. Even if it was the controller of the Immortal Sutra City, his true colors could be done freely. Chen Hao, whose eyes were empty, naturally did not respond. But in his heart, it was not the case at all. Begin. The controller did not talk nonsense with Zhou Qinglong and directly ordered. Boom, 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 boom. At this moment, a terrifying energy roar suddenly erupted from the 1,000-square arena. In the final battle, the winner would enter and the loser would leave the Immortal Sutra City. Every cultivator no longer dared to hold back and took out the heroic spirit of a life-and-death battle, violently attacking. Nguyen Tan Lan, who had something in her heart, directly activated the Immortal Sutra magic treasure after sensing the most powerful aura since the start of the competition. This time, she displayed the true strength that she had crazily improved during this period of time. She wanted to end this battle quickly. She was very clear that if Li Mubai won this battle, she could still enter the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra with him and obtain even greater improvement. She could also be with him for 1,000 years. Yes, 1,000 years. The sacred land of the Immortal Sutra was only 10 years, but the space-time laws inside were 100 times that of the outside world. 10 years was 1,000 years. But if Li Mubai failed, regardless of whether he woke up or not, last night might have been the last time she and Li Mubai would be reunited, a kind of feeling that could not be cut, that was still in chaos, that had never appeared in the heart of Nguyen Tan Lan, who pursued the peak of martial arts and prioritized her own cultivation interests, filled Nguyen Tan Lan's heart. Boom. Roar. Hey, little white, be gentle, I'll be shy. In the arena where Chen Hao and Zhou Qinglong were, the battle also began at this moment. Until now, he had not thought of a way to deal with Zhou Qinglong, causing Chen Hao to enter the state of madness without any hesitation. He directly raised his strength to the most violent and ferocious state, and with a thrust of his spear, he used the Great Five Elements technique on the Overlord spear. At this time, Zhou Qinglong's aura did not change in the slightest, nor did it violently soar. Seeing Chen Hao's tyrannical spear attack, this fellow actually continued to ridicule him with his disgusting voice. At the same time, with a twist of his slender waist and a stretch of his orchid fingers, a bewitching flower emitting a dark green crystal light bloomed between his orchid fingers. At this moment, the world suddenly darkened. All the practitioners who were paying attention to this battle were shocked to feel that there was only that bewitching green flower left between heaven and earth. Beautiful, a beauty that could cause the downfall of a city, a beauty that could overturn heaven and earth, and disturb yin and yang. No one could describe how beautiful this flower was. It seemed to contain all the mysteries and true meanings of life, making people feel as if they were in a boundless spring, as if they were bathing in the spring breeze. It was also as if they had seen the most mysterious source of life between heaven and earth, and their soul consciousness was deeply intoxicated in it. Buzz. Chen Hao's eyes, which were as red as blood, actually glowed with a dark green light when he saw the bewitching dark green flowers. There was a buzzing sound in his mind, which caused the spear he violently thrust out to tremble slightly. Before he realized it, his divine thoughts had separated from the spear light, and it was beyond his control. Chapter 1007. Rumble. Rumble. The enchanting green flower gently met with the domineering spear radiance. The flower withered on its own as if it did not contain any energy. However, Chen Hao's violent spear directly exploded and destroyed the entire space. The terrifying explosion and raging energy made the immortal light guarding the arena tremble violently. There was a huge fluctuation on the ground of the entire arena. However, Zhou Qinglong twisted his slender waist and laughed coquettishly. He stroked the flower with his fingers and appeared to be at ease. He was not attacked by any energy. Amazing! Fuck, what a freak. He's so strong. When the enchanting green flower was submerged in Chen Hao's terrifying spear radiance, the onlookers also came to their senses and looked at this shocking scene in horror. At this moment, many of the eliminated cultivators finally understood how terrifying Zhou Qinglong, the monstrous genius whose name had shaken the entire chaotic colossal world 10,000 years ago, was. The flower with his fingers did not seem to have used any powerful energy, but it dissolved Li Mubai's terrifying spear radiance into nothingness. This feeling was really frightening. To be exact, Li Mubai's violent attack was completely under the confusion of the enchanting green flower. He lost control of his divine thoughts and self-detonated. Rumble. Chen Hao, whose eyes were red again, took a step forward and directly became one with his spear. In a flash, he disappeared from everyone's sight. The great teleportation technique. After a moment of sparks, Chen Hao appeared again and was already in front of Zhou Qinglong. He stabbed his spear directly. Whether it was the speed, the energy contained, or the divine sense, it was so powerful that it made people's hair stand on end. Even the onlookers such as Xiang Tiange and Yin Xian gasped. They could clearly sense that Li Mubai had launched his fiercest, strongest, and most violent attack at the beginning of the battle, and he had combined many terrifying skills with it. However, although they were surprised, they, who were familiar with Zhou Qinglong, didn't do anything to Zhou Qinglong because of the great teleportation technique. However, the other cultivators all cried out in shock at this moment. Rumble. Zhou Qinglong's body, which was sticking out his butt, tilting his head, and extending his fingers like an orchid. He even had a charming smile on his face. However, Chen Hao's spear pierced through his body and turned it into a rain of light that filled the sky. It was as if he had been too careless and failed to react in time, causing his physical body to be destroyed. Little White, you're so fierce, you're such a good man. I like you so much. However, just as everyone was in a daze, Zhou Qinglong's voice came from another direction. It was still a voice that was extremely disgusting, and the words he spoke caused many men to have goosebumps all over their bodies. But at this time, they were even more shocked. How can the destruction of a physical body be green? So it's an illusion. Wrong. That's not an illusion, it's a real body that has been destroyed. However, it's a body formed by a strand of Zhou Qinglong's hair, a strand of nose hair, or some other hair. Someone revealed the truth. Little White, come on, fuck me harder. Use all your strength. A handsome brother like you makes me feel so good. Come on, I want more. Blurg, puff. The shocked cultivators originally looked at Zhou Qinglong with fear and admiration from the depths of their hearts. However, Zhou Qinglong's butt was facing Chen Hao, and his small mouth was covered. His face was full of shyness and lewd words, causing countless cultivators to feel their stomachs churn. Fuck, this fucking pervert, he's so disgusting. But, this is really fucking satisfying. Li Mubai is really strong. This fucking pervert probably doesn't have any confidence in defeating him before sunset. That's right. If he had 30% confidence, this fucking pervert wouldn't be stalling like this and not even attacking. The 8 monsters secretly conversed. To put it bluntly, Zhou Qinglong's terrifying ability was not offensive at all. It was completely using his innate ability to stall for time with Chen Hao. He would not lose much energy even if he persisted until sunset. At most, he would lose a few dozen or 100 strands of hair that would grow back after some time. Fuck. No one knew that Chen Hao, who was in the demonic realm, was cursing in his heart. There's actually such a perverted guy. Is this his innate ability? Chen Hao could be said to have used his strongest attack after several consecutive attacks. If it had been anyone else among the 8 monsters, they would have been defeated by now. However, he had not even touched Zhou Qinglong's body. It's even purer than the vitality emitted by the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree. The mystery must be in his physical body. Come on, Little White, come and fuck me. Fuck, I don't believe it. Today, I'll fuck you to death. Chen Hao, who had temporarily stopped attacking, was truly disgusted when he saw Zhou Qinglong's despicable appearance with his buttocks sticking out at him again. Chen Hao could feel that this guy was not really a pervert. He just wanted to use this posture to disgust others. Chen Hao pushed the great teleportation technique to the extreme this time, but the power around him was different from the previous attacks that were concentrated in a single line. Instead, he drew a sphere with a diameter of 10,000 miles in an instant and stabbed out with his spear. Chi. Chen Hao's teleportation speed became faster and faster. Before the last afterimage disappeared, a new afterimage had already appeared. Gradually, thousands of afterimages formed a sphere of Chen Hao in the space of 10,000 miles in diameter. Endless spear flares shot densely at Zhou Qinglong, who was either the real body or the hairy clone. At this moment, everyone gasped in shock. Ouch! Even the sissy's voice was no longer as calm as before. He seemed to be a little panicked as he kept calling out. Other than the words "I-O," he was unable to say anything else that was coherent. Bang bang bang. Passing through the dense illusory figures, everyone's eyes widened and a strange look appeared on their faces. Many people quivered and could not help but suck in their anus, afraid that Li Mubai's spear flares would stab them. What kind of scene was that? Zhou Qinglong, who was originally sticking out his buttocks and facing Chen Hao, had now become the same as before. He kept screaming ouch, and then Chen Hao's spear flares kept stabbing into his buttocks. The city burst into green light. Ubai, you must win. You must win. Nguyen Tan Lan, who ended the battle quickly, had separated the crowd and came to the front of the ring. She stared at the thousands of shadows of Chen Hao and said over and over again in her heart, Zhou Qinglong was too abnormal. She knew that Li Mubai's crazy consumption could not last long, but she did not know how to make it effective. Chapter 1008. Too strong, a true monster, the Daluo Golden Wonderland. Who can match him? Countless people looked at Chen Hao, who was in a crazed state, and their hearts were filled with shock. Until today, the strength that Chen Hao displayed was his most terrifying strength. The previous 8 matches paled in comparison to this, and the difference was not just by a little. The 8 monsters were certain that if they were to face Li Mubai's violent and reckless attacks, they would be riddled with holes in an instant. It's a pity. Zhou Qinglong is an unkillable monster. He won't be able to last long, that's right. In the end, there's no need to wait until sunset. Zhou Qinglong only needs to counterattack when his energy is exhausted and he'll win. Zhou Qinglong is still more abnormal. Zhou Qinglong is a little too disgusting, but he's really abnormal. I want to stab him in the anus. It's a pity that Li Mubai didn't even stab his real body. A draw means a loss. Is there really no other way? Even though Chen Hao's energy was terrifyingly boundless, in a short 2 minutes, Chen Hao could clearly feel his energy rapidly depleting. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before he ran out of energy. Sunset? There's still 10 hours left. Why should I be in such a hurry? It's only useful if I think of a way to break it. Thinking of this, Chen Hao suddenly let out a roar that resounded through the heavens and earth. His rapidly flashing figure suddenly stopped and he opened his mouth. At this moment, the pores all over his body seemed to become tiny vortexes, madly devouring the energy that was wreaking havoc between heaven and earth because of him. Chi 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 chi. At this moment, Chen Hao's body once again began to expand at a terrifying speed. Devouring energy would make one's body bigger. Even the energy released by Chen Hao was the same. Once one's own energy came into contact with heaven and earth, there would be a mysterious change. If one wanted to devour it back, the only way was to refine it again. If that wasn't the case, it would be too easy for cultivators to recover during battle. Chen Hao's body naturally wouldn't have swelled up because he couldn't refine it for the time being. "Io little white, continue, continue, it's so good, so good, so good. How can you stop?" Just as all the spear lights disappeared, Zhou Qinglong's disgusting voice rang out once again. Li Mubai is starting to devour energy to recover. Is this still the demonic realm? Someone in the crowd exclaimed. It was reasonable to say that the berserk demon realm was dominated by the subconscious. Combat power, perception, reaction, and other abilities could be increased by several times. The only thing that could not be used was tactics. But now, Chen Hao actually began to recover even though he clearly hadn't used up all his energy. This was more or less beyond everyone's expectations. He has immersed himself in the demonic realm. Including the effects of the space-time laws, it has been hundreds of years, close to 1,000 years. Even if it's his subconscious, I'm afraid that he has already analyzed it. Or perhaps, it's an instinctive reaction to the consumption of energy that is causing him to begin to recover. But no matter what, this Li Mubai is simply too powerful. Chi 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 chi. Chen Hao allowed his body to expand crazily, devouring the berserk energy between heaven and earth. A small part of his mind was locked onto the coquettish Zhou Qinglong, preventing him from suddenly counterattacking. After all, Zhou Qinglong's absolute strength was definitely not weak. If he counterattacked, he would have to deal with it with all his strength. And the majority of his mind was integrated into the energy, carefully sensing and searching. He wanted to capture Zhou Qinglong's energy, perhaps he could find a breakthrough. But what surprised Chen Hao was that within the berserk energy, there wasn't a trace of Zhou Qinglong's aura, let alone finding it to comprehend. What kind of monster is this? Chen Hao was truly shocked. According to his thoughts, even if he shattered Zhou Qinglong's fake body, There should be more or less some traces left, but there wasn't even a trace. It was as if what he shattered was air, and it was all his own performance. Little White, this is very boring. You have to think carefully. At sunset, if you don't defeat him, you won't have the chance to enter the immortal Scripture Holy Land. It's the immortal Scripture Holy Land, don't you want to? I used to like it very much. But now I don't care. A draw doesn't affect me much. Come on, come on, come on, I promise I won't fight back. Then you should recover. Hurry, recover with all your strength. I'm waiting for you. Seeing that Li Mubai didn't have any reaction, Zhou Qinglong hummed and said. After saying that, he actually held his chin and looked at Chen Hao affectionately, as if he was waiting patiently. Chen Hao was slightly taken aback. Does this guy really have no intention of making a move? If that's the case, I can give it a try. Hiss! An imperceptible aura suddenly emitted from between Chen Hao's eyebrows. In the violent fluctuations of the energy of heaven and earth, even a Tao-severing perfected immortal would not be able to detect it if he did not consciously search for it. I'd like to see what kind of mysteries your physical body contains. Chen Hao thought to himself. He could feel that except for the moment when he shattered the other party's fake body, at all other times, whether it was the soul origin or the physical body's aura, they were completely one. In other words, the Zhou Qinglong he saw now was Zhou Qinglong. There was no mistake. Chen Hao's powerful soul perception was certain of this. However, Chen Hao still didn't understand how he changed his fake body the moment he shattered it, and how his real body directly appeared in another place. But now, Chen Hao's tiny strand of divine thought was like silk being peeled out of a cocoon. It continuously integrated into heaven and earth bit by bit, extending in all directions toward Zhou Qinglong, interweaving into a net until there was no gap left. Chen Hao believed that even if a cell passed by, he would be able to capture it. It was also at this moment that Chen Hao moved. His huge body suddenly stopped devouring energy and disappeared into thin air, leaving no trace of his aura behind. Dandinga! This is Dandinga! It's really him! Someone in the crowd suddenly exclaimed. When Chen Hao had obtained the 30th magic treasure, he had used this unique skill to disappear into thin air without a trace of fluctuation before leaving. Although everyone was sure that it was Li Mubai before, it was all speculation after all, and there was no proof. But now, Li Mubai had exposed the unique skill that he had used at that time, causing many people to exclaim in surprise. Ouch! At this moment, Zhou Qinglong suddenly exclaimed. His expression changed, and his body bloomed with a bright green light. There are only 9 votes today. I beg for monthly votes with tears streaming down my face. Chapter 1009. Boom. It was also at this moment that Chen Hao strangely appeared beside Zhou Qinglong. The moment his green energy burst out, Chen Hao also jumped out from his hidden state of merging with all things in the world. His violent finger-guessing fist turned into a claw and clawed out. The massive palm contained a terrifying amount of soul force, true essence, and essence energy. Resplendent runes covered the palm, as if they wanted to seal the world. Ouch! Bang! Zhou Qinglong screamed, but before he could finish his signature ouch, he was crushed in Chen Hao's huge palm. Little White, you're so scary. What? This time, Chen Hao was completely shocked. Even with the inescapable net's divine sense blockade, he still couldn't sense any aura of Zhou Qinglong. How was this possible? Impossible? Could it be that he can travel through time and space in an instant? Travel through time and space. Other than this explanation, Chen Hao really couldn't think of how Zhou Qinglong could pass through his divine sense net silently. But if it was time and space travel, how could there be no fluctuation of time and space aura before the travel? For the time being, Chen Hao, who had no other way, knew that he couldn't go on like this. With a shake of his body, he suddenly disappeared silently again. This time, although he couldn't find a breakthrough, the look of shock that flashed across Zhou Qinglong's face let Chen Hao know that his attack was still effective. Then he would use a faster and more ruthless attack, not giving him any time to breathe. Perhaps only in this way could he force his opponent to reveal a flaw. bang, bang, boom. Next, everyone's nerves were like a taut string. They watched Chen Hao flicker again and again, and Zhou Qinglong collapse again and again, but reappear again and again. Minutes and seconds passed. Chen Hao couldn't remember how many times he had attacked, but at least 1,000 times. When Chen Hao killed Zhou Qinglong again and Zhou Qinglong appeared in the distance again, Zhou Qinglong suddenly stroked his orchid fingers again, and the same enchanting green flower was born from his fingertips again. At this moment, most of the onlookers couldn't help but be attracted by this enchanting green flower again. Humph, you can do it once, but you want to do it again? Buzz. The moment the green flower appeared, Chen Hao's eyebrows suddenly bloomed with a jade-like light. His strong spiritual altar was untainted by dust, and all kinds of wills were raised to the peak level by Chen Hao in an instant. What was more shocking was that Chen Hao's blood-red, empty eyes, which contained endless pain, emitted a charming 7-colored light at this moment. The peak of the 10th level of the Red Dust Heart Sutra. This time, Chen Hao didn't show any signs of being in a trance, nor was he attracted by the enchanting green flower. Under the attack of the Great Teleportation Technique, he once again blasted Zhou Qinglong to death. At the same time, the green flower exploded, and rays of green light that seemed to contain endless vitality burst out in all directions. At this moment, what shocked everyone, and what made Chen Hao's eyes suddenly become even more resplendent, was that Zhou Qinglong, who had appeared once again, seemed to be formed from the green light that had burst out from the green flower. The moment he appeared, he was in the exact same direction as the green light. After reappearing, he was very close to Chen Hao for the first time. So it's this flower? Because the distance was too close, many of the green light that burst out from the green flower blasted onto Chen Hao's body. There was no lethality, and it was just pure light. Chen Hao didn't care at all, but at this moment, what surprised him was that in the macro world of his mind, the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree suddenly attacked the barrier of his macro world violently, as if it wanted to connect the 9 heavens and 10 earths and extend out from Chen Hao's mind. Could it be that it wants to absorb? After this thought flashed through Chen Hao's mind, he didn't think much and opened a link between the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree and the outside world. At this moment, green tentacles suddenly stretched out from between his eyebrows. The moment they appeared, they grew in the wind and swallowed the green light that burst out from the green flower with a sizzling sound. However, they didn't show any signs of stopping. Chen Hao didn't even need to control them. The green tentacles were like swimming dragons, rushing toward Zhou Qinglong at lightning speed. At this moment, Zhou Qinglong's sissy voice completely disappeared, and he burst out with a roar of horror. Boom! Finally, Zhou Qinglong raised his strength to the peak for the first time. With a wave of his hand, he blasted the green tentacles with a power that could collapse mountains and fill seas, breaking space and shattering stars. Crack, crack. The tentacles broke and shattered, and Zhou Qinglong moved away from Chen Hao like a bolt of lightning. He seemed to be extremely wary of the green tentacles, and he continuously laid down countless layers of stellar energy around himself. As the newly grown tentacles madly rushed toward Zhou Qinglong again, Chen Hao also raised his strength to the peak and charged at Zhou Qinglong. But at this moment, a dazzling immortal light suddenly poured down from the void. Zhou Qinglong has lost. Congratulations, Li Mubai, you have earned the right to enter the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra. What? The voice of the master of the Immortal Sutra city in the void made most cultivators look surprised and puzzled. The result had not been decided yet, so how could Li Mubai have won? You can actually... Zhou Qinglong's eyes were wide open, and he finally looked like a man. He looked at Chen Hao with a shocked expression, but he didn't say anything else. The other 8 monstrous geniuses were also shocked. This green tentacles extended from Chen Hao's glabella, but they could not get any closer under the master's immortal light. However, they were still struggling desperately, as if they wanted to break through the seal and get closer to Zhou Qinglong. At the same time, countless tentacles extended in all directions, devouring all the energy in the arena. The master's phantom did not stop the tentacles from devouring other parts of Chen Hao's body apart from protecting Zhou Qinglong. Chen Hao seemed to have stopped attacking after being blocked by the immortal light, but he was very excited. That was because his mind had already merged with the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree, so he could clearly sense what the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree was doing. He also understood why Zhou Qinglong could not die. The bewitching flower. The green light emitted by the bewitching flower was the life substitute that Zhou Qinglong had scattered all over the arena. Zhou Qinglong's primordial spirit was perfectly compatible with every hidden ball of light. In other words, Zhou Qinglong did not have a physical body at all. Instead, he was an immortal tree that contained a higher level of vitality than the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree. However, the immortal tree was still very weak and could not resist the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree's devouring of the same source of energy. As long as the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree devoured this energy, it could evolve. Chapter 10:10. Mu Bai. Nguyen Tan Lan rushed excitedly to Chen Hao's side when the Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree vanished from between Chen Hao's brows and the barrier of immortal light opened. She'd been in so much despair that she'd lost all hope. She hadn't expected the tables to turn. Her joy was indescribable. All right, the old man will send you back. Remember, even if you can't be friends with Li Mubai, you can't be enemies with him. Don't provoke him if you run into him. The immortal scripture city master transmitted his voice to the 9 monsters. Grandpa Master, what is he? Why can he sense me and devour me? The Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree. It's grown to a terrifying level. Its life origin energy can grow to the same level as your physical life origin, but that's only its subsidiary ability. Tao manifestation, its greatest strength is the condensation of endless Tao laws. As long as its cultivator's potential reaches that level, there's no limit to its growth. Impressive, truly impressive. The Tao manifestation immortal fruit tree is rooted in the soul origin brand and is bound to the endless cycle of reincarnation. Even the old man isn't confident he can achieve such a feat. All right, remember the old man's words. Don't be enemies with it. Just let him leave on his own. Master, do you mean to send him to the Hongmeng domain? Of course. Haven't you guessed it already? Go. Chi. 9 beams of immortal light suddenly enveloped the 9 monsters. Soon after, a space-time tunnel with a terrifying aura opened, and the 9 of them disappeared into it. The 1,000 disciples who have qualified to enter the immortal scripture city remain. The others, please leave with your sect masters, grand elders, and other mighty figures. The immortal scripture city will close in 15 minutes. In the Hunyuan sect, the 5th Grand Elder, Tian Wanxiang, Gao Xiangqing, and the others quickly came to the side of their respective disciples. The 5th Grand Elder, Tian Wanxiang, and Gao Xiangqing naturally came together because of Chen Hao and Nguyen Tan Lan. Disciple, 5th Grand Elder Tian Wanxiang looked at Chen Hao with a complicated expression and shouted at the same time. I originally thought that you would be able to inherit my legacy, but I didn't expect that I no longer have anything worth passing on to you. It's over before it even started. At least we're fated to be master and disciple. Regardless of whether you like it or not, I'll leave it behind for you. This is my life's comprehension. Perhaps it'll still be of some use to you now. The 5th Grand Elder stared at Chen Hao's empty eyes as he spoke with a hint of sadness and desolation. After he finished speaking, a light flashed between his eyebrows, and a jade slip emitting a sparkling purple light appeared in his hand. The 5th Grand Elder reached out and took Chen Hao's hand, placing it in Chen Hao's hand. At this moment, 2 bright lights flashed between Chen Hao's eyebrows. One light took the jade slip that clearly contained the Tao marks that the 5th Grand Elder had learned and comprehended in his life into his mind. The other light wrapped around 2 magic treasures that bloomed with the might of the immortal scripture and slowly floated in front of the 5th Grand Elder, Tian Wanxiang. Chen Hao really wanted to say something to the 2 of them, but in the end he held back. He just took out the immortal scripture magic treasures and presented them to the two of them, and then there was no more reaction. Immortal scripture magic treasures, Gao Xiangxing said excitedly. Master doesn't need this. Keep it for yourself. The slightly surprised fifth grand elder said without thinking. I don't need it either. Tian Wanxiang was originally holding it in his hand, but at this moment, he hurriedly said. The two of them were very moved, especially the fifth grand elder. He hadn't recognized Li Mubai as his disciple for long, but in his subconscious state, Li Mubai actually took out the immortal scripture magic treasures to show his filial piety to them. One could imagine their position in Li Mubai's heart, but no matter how the two of them tried to stuff it into Li Mubai's hands, Li Mubai didn't put it away. Nguyen Tan Lan stared blankly, ripples in her heart. Was this his subconscious mind, or was there a trace of consciousness? Qing Lan, Li Mubai. Maybe there's a problem. But when there's an opportunity, we have to grasp it. He should be able to go in and comprehend the immortal scripture's sacred land. Let's go with him. We'll take it one step at a time. Master, what's going on with Mubai? Sigh. Although I felt strange at first, I didn't think too much about it. Later, the 9 great geniuses stopped him in succession, which was too puzzling. Fifth Grand Elder and Elder Tian didn't explain and looked worried. Later, many powerful figures speculated that Li Mubai is probably a cultivator from another greater thousand world, who came from the endless reincarnation. If nothing goes wrong, the controller will send him out of the chaotic greater thousand world and strip him of the imprint of the chaotic greater thousand world. Qing Lan, you've been smart since childhood to choose him, and now. I don't know if it's good or bad, but since you've already reached this step, you don't have to worry about anything, and do your best to improve yourself. He has all kinds of legendary unique skills. Even if he doesn't teach you, you can still comprehend a lot from the fusion of yin and yang. The immortal scripture's sacred land, 1,000 years of time, don't waste it. Nguyen Tan Lan's eyes widened as she listened to Gao Xiangxing's words, and her face became very pale in an instant. When she heard her master say that Li Mubai would be sent out of the chaotic greater thousand world, her mind became blank. Even if she transmitted her voice, she didn't hear the rest of Gao Xiangxing's words. Time's up. Please leave immediately. The controller's shadow issued an ultimatum. The fifth great elder and Tian Wanxiang held the immortal scripture magic treasure that Chen Hao forcibly gave to them. They took a deep look at it and then turned into 2 streamers. Gao Xiangxing didn't know whether to be happy or disappointed. He looked at Nguyen Tan Lan, who seemed to have lost her soul, with mixed feelings. After sending out a wisp of Dao sound to wake her up, he shook his head and left. 1,000 years, don't I still have 1,000 years? Nguyen Tan Lan suddenly woke up from her master's Dao sound, which was directly transmitted into the depths of her soul. What happened to me just now? How can this be? I'm pursuing the peak of martial arts. The great Dao is ruthless. The great Dao is ruthless. Nguyen Tan Lan didn't know that at this moment, Chen Hao's empty eyes were sizing her up. When Chen Hao saw the crystal light and sharpness in her eyes, he felt a little conflicted because of Nguyen Tan Lan's soulless look, but he immediately relaxed. Similarly, Chen Hao also didn't know that Nguyen Tan Lan woke up so quickly because of some kind of mysterious Dao sound that his master deliberately added. The great Dao is merciless. A piece of paper, which was not pierced through, caused countless years of waiting and disappointment, of course, that belonged to Nguyen Tan Lan. Chen Hao might occasionally think of his experience in the vast 1,000 chaotic worlds, but he didn't have any regrets. At least, that was what he thought. Everyone had their own pursuits, and it was enough to give her what she wanted most. It was a wrong combination. He had no regrets, and he didn't let his conscience down. Chapter 10-11. Qing Lan. Just as Nguyen Tan Lan gently held Chen Hao's hand and was about to leave the arena, a figure suddenly appeared beside them and stared at Nguyen Tan Lan. What's the matter, senior brother Situ? Nguyen Tan Lan frowned slightly. You should have received the news, right? Situ Qian looked directly at Nguyen Tan Lan and said, he's just an outsider. You and him won't be together. In the past, sorry. I still have something to do. Although Nguyen Tan Lan still maintained the last bit of etiquette, her gaze towards Sidu Qian was already full of disdain, and she directly left. This was the top genius of the Hunyuan sect? In the past, he looked down on the Hunyuan sect, and no matter what arrogant things he did, it was only right in everyone's eyes. He was the #1 genius, and he was not at the same level as everyone else. But now, when Nguyen Tan Lan rose to a certain level, she realized that this person's temperament was worse than in ordinary disciples. Especially in such an occasion, he actually dared to criticize Li Mubai and express goodwill towards her. If this wasn't an idiot, then what was? Brother Huang, have you heard? Li Mubai might be an outsider from the endless cycle of reincarnation to our chaotic colossal world. A total of 60 to 70 people from the Chaos Academy participated, and 43 of them were actually qualified to enter the sacred ground of the Immortal Sutra. At this time, they all gathered around the genius Huang Tianhua. It's not a possibility, it's a certainty. Cider, this is a chance for me. Brother Huang, what do you mean? Situ Qian is really unbearable. How can he be worthy of Nguyen Tan Lan? You're asking for humiliation. Brother Huang, Nguyen Tan Lan has already lost her primordial yin body. So what? It was just the fusion of yin and yang, a kind of cultivation method. In my eyes, it's nothing. Oh, by the way, pass on my message to that idiot Sidu Qian. If he dares to do anything to Nguyen Tan Lan, don't blame me, Huang Tianhua, for being impolite. After saying that, Huang Tianhua turned into a stream of light and flew away. The disciples of the Primal Chaos Academy looked at each other in dismay. In the chaotic boundless world, men were possessive. As long as they had some status, they would not wear shoes that had been worn by others, especially when the shoes were relatively famous. For a man, that was a very shameful thing. Monstrous geniuses are monstrous geniuses. For the sake of cultivation, they don't care about reputation at all. Someone said softly, "What do you mean?" Nguyen Tan Lan alone has 3 Dharma treasures. Perhaps Brother Huang doesn't care about them, but Li Mubai displayed powerful magical powers in the battle with the 9 monstrous geniuses. How many cultivators dream of having such powerful magical powers? Even if Li Mubai didn't impart them to Nguyen Tan Lan, they could still comprehend many of the Tao laws contained in the fusion of yin and yang. Whoever obtains Nguyen Tan Lan will obtain cultivation insights from another boundless world. I also want to... Unfortunately, Brother Huang has already warned us. Warning? That's true. At this moment, everyone finally understood why Huang Tianhua had clearly expressed his interest in Nguyen Tan Lan in front of all of them. At the same time, he had asked them to pass on his warning to Sidu Qian. That was undoubtedly meant for them to hear as well. As Nguyen Tan Lan and Chen Hao flew towards the palace, a beam of immortal light suddenly descended from the sky and enveloped the two of them. Chen Hao didn't react at all. It was as if he already knew that this immortal light was coming, or that he knew that he couldn't resist it. Nguyen Tan Lan was shocked. No need to panic. In the immortal scripture city, apart from the ruler of the old man, no one dares to act recklessly. Ruler, Nguyen Tan Lan, Li Mubai is an outsider from the endless cycle of reincarnation. You can no longer be with him in the sacred land of the immortal scripture. Moreover, the old man will strip away any aura related to him from your body. But he won't strip away your memories of being with him. One more thing, after stepping out of the sacred land of the immortal scripture, you can't enter the Hongming region on your own before the old man comes looking for you. Ruler. Tianji, Qi. Mubai. When the ruler only said the 2 words, Tianji, Li Mubai, who was also surrounded by immortal light, suddenly turned into a stream of light and broke through the sky. Nguyen Tan Lan exclaimed and screamed. Tears instantly streamed down her face as she frantically tried to break free from the shackles of the immortal light. However, everything she did was in vain. Chen Hao couldn't see or hear. Tianji. How can there be so many Tianji that can be predicted? The old man just left a seed of hope. Although it seems that there's no need at all and it's not very possible, we can't let our guard down. The ruler sensed Nguyen Tan Lan's state and thought to himself, I didn't expect that I was worrying too much. Since that's the case, put it away. Nature is the best. No one knew that in the immortal light that surrounded Nguyen Tan Lan, a dense and undetectable light was suddenly drawn out. If this light entered Nguyen Tan Lan's soul, then her emotional world would become an eternal and indelible eternity. She would no longer be able to accommodate any man other than Chen Hao in her heart. The ruler naturally had his reasons for doing so. The potential that Chen Hao had shown was really too terrifying. It was so terrifying that the ruler still had lingering fears. Such a person, as long as there was a slight possibility that he could find the vast thousand chaotic worlds in the future, he could bring about a huge disaster. Therefore, he wanted to keep Nguyen Tan Lan, and even anyone that Li Mubai had ever had feelings for in this life. It seemed useless now, but it might play a decisive role in the future. The Great Tao was heartless. Was it really heartless? At his level, he knew better than anyone else. However, what the ruler did not expect was that when he was about to let the light enter Nguyen Tan Lan's soul, he found that he did not need to do anything extra. Nguyen Tan Lan was far more real than the ruthless Great Tao that she appeared to be on the surface. It was just that she had suppressed it in her heart. Now that Chen Hao was suddenly taken away, her true feelings directly erupted. Even her master's ruthless Great Tao sound just now broke through. The ruler also saw this, so he put away the immortal light that was opposite to Nguyen Tan Lan's master's, but was hundreds and thousands of times more powerful. Senior. In the City Lord's palace in Immortal Scripture City, Chen Hao, who was wrapped in immortal light, was brought here. When he saw an old man sitting cross-legged on one side of a seemingly ordinary tea table and displaying his tea ceremony skills with a focused expression, he was rather surprised. However, he still called out respectfully, "Little friend, don't call me senior. It's too much for the old man. Although you are weak now, this is only your endless cycle of reincarnation. Sit." Chapter 10-12. The endless cycle of reincarnation is a new life. Before I truly awaken, you're still my senior. You're pressuring me. Chen Hao frowned slightly. That's good. You have to remember that it's not that the old man is looking down on you, it's that your state of mind can't bear it for the time being. Sit down and talk. Senior, why are you so afraid of me? It's just the endless cycle of reincarnation. This is my new life and also my lifetime. That's your current state of mind, not your true state of mind. When you truly awaken, you'll know that the old man's current thoughts are for the future of the billions of lives in the entire vast thousand worlds. The old man can't have any mishaps. All right. Senior, what do you plan to do with me? This is what the old man wanted to tell you. You've finally broken through the immortal's scripture holy land. Since he promised you, the old man will naturally let you enter. He won't have any demands on you. But 10 years later, well, the immortal's scripture holy land is 1,000 years later. The old man will directly erase all your imprints in the vast thousand worlds and send you to the Hongmeng domain. Hongmeng domain. Chen Hao frowned slightly. Senior, please tell me more about the Hongmeng domain. I've just awakened. With my previous strength, I didn't have any plans to enter the Hongmeng domain, so I know very little. That's not a problem. The old man did this to protect the vast thousand worlds. After all, we're not the great world of Xiandi. We're very weak. You're an outsider, so you can't be imprinted in the vast thousand worlds. In fact, except for powerful existences like the great world of Xiandi, all the vast thousand worlds are the same. They can't let outsiders know their true location. The Hongmeng domain exists in every vast thousand world, but it's an existence that's independent of the vast thousand worlds. It was also a realm that Daluo Jingxian had to enter when he ascended to the Grand Mist Supremacy realm. You can comprehend the origin of Hongmeng Qi, obtain the mark of the macro world, and condense the prototype of the macro world in your mind. When the prototype of your macro world is close to perfection and triggers Heaven's punishment to advance to the Hongmeng realm, Heaven's punishment will open the Milky Way tunnel that connects the 9 heavens and 10 earths and send you back to the boundless world before you entered. After Old Man erased your mark in the boundless world of chaos, Heaven's punishment will not send you back to the boundless world of chaos when you advance to the Hongmeng realm. Then where will we be teleported to? Qianhao was shocked. Previously, he didn't know the real situation in the Hongmeng domain. With the strength of Li Mubai and the others, they didn't dare to enter the Hongmeng domain, so their knowledge was limited. Now, the words of the immortal scripture city master made Qianhao excited. The great world of Xiandi. Anyone who loses the mark of the boundless world will be exiled. Only the great world of Xiandi, which is open to all boundless worlds, will accept practitioners without the mark. What kind of existence is the great world of Xiandi? Qianhao asked. He knew that since the immortal scripture city master told him this frankly, there was no possibility of changing it. Therefore, he could only learn more information. It's an existence that's hundreds and thousands of times more powerful than the Hongmeng domain. The so-called geniuses of our boundless world are reduced to the most ordinary disciples there. Anyone who is born and raised into the great world of Xiandi has an overall talent and potential that is several levels higher than our boundless world. There are countless top geniuses. This is the real reason why they dare to open it to all boundless worlds. They are not afraid of being discovered by any boundless world. They also welcome you to become a member of their boundless world, regardless of strength or talent. As long as you can survive. That place is hell for the mediocre and heaven for the strong. If you can come back alive from there, you will at least become a Tao-severing perfected immortal. The immortal scripture city master looked at Qianhao's eyes that were no longer empty. Seeing that there was no fear in Qianhao's expression other than excitement, he praised him in his heart and continued, however, there are many who dare to go there, but only a few who can come back. Especially when one's realm is higher, the chances of coming back are lower. On the contrary, in the Hongmeng domain, the cultivators who directly stepped into the great world of Xiandi when they triggered heaven's punishment to advance to the Hongmeng domain have a higher chance of coming back. Zhou Qinglong, Yin Xian, Xiang Tiange, and the other 8 people are the people that the old man is going to send to the great world of Xiandi. It's also because of this that they haven't stepped into the Grand Mist Supremacy realm until now. They have to condense the embryonic form of the great world of Xiandi to the most perfect level of their own talent. Only then can they have greater improvement and the possibility of coming back. Of course, the old man won't erase their imprints related to the vast thousand chaotic worlds. Otherwise, they really won't be able to come back. When their heaven's punishment appears in the Milky Way tunnel that connects the 9 heavens and 10 earths, there will be 2 paths. One will directly return to the vast thousand chaotic worlds, and the other will enter the great world of Xiandi. As for you, after the old man erases your imprint in the vast thousand chaotic worlds, you can only enter the vast thousand chaotic worlds. Is it possible to return to the vast thousand chaotic worlds before the endless cycle of reincarnation? This is impossible. Before the cycle of reincarnation, since you connected the 9 heavens and 10 earths to enter other vast thousand chaotic worlds, then before you fully awaken, it's impossible for your original vast thousand chaotic worlds imprint to appear. Unless what? Unless you originally came from the great world of Xiandi. However, the probability of this is almost 0. Although your talent and potential are definitely qualified to be a genius disciple of the great world of Xiandi, no practitioner from the great world of Xiandi would define the endless cycle of reincarnation as a low-level vast thousand chaotic worlds. That's simply meaningless. Senior, have you been to the great world of Xiandi? Of course I have, and I go there often. Your master, Duan Ziyu, has also been there. Basically, all the top experts in the vast thousand chaotic worlds have been there, but only the old man dares to go there often. This has nothing to do with realm and strength. Wherever you go, you will only face opponents of the same realm as you. That's a world with absolute laws, and no one will violate them. The most suitable place is the true genius. That's a paradise for practitioners to improve rapidly. Duan Ziyu was the name of the 5th great elder. Oh, thank you for your advice, senior. You seem to be looking forward to it. You don't have any objections to what the old man has done? Of course not. Different standpoints naturally make different considerations. If I were you, I would make the same decision as you. What's more, I want a wider stage, Chen Hao said without hesitation. He was indeed looking forward to it and was very excited, but it was not as simple as he said. It was not entirely because of the great world of the immortal emperor. Pursuing the peak of martial arts was his obsession. The great world of Xiandi indeed made him yearn for it, but what he was really looking forward to was what would happen when he triggered the heavenly punishment in the Hongmeng domain. Because he was not the so-called endless cycle of reincarnation of the immortal scripture city. Chapter 1013. Li Mubai was taken away by the master of the immortal scripture city. Don't tell me he won't be given a chance to enter the sacred land of the immortal scripture? It shouldn't be. The master summoned 9 monstrous geniuses to stop him, but they couldn't stop him. There's no reason not to let him enter at this time. Who knows? Nguyen Tan Lan is a little pitiful. In the void, the disciples who had obtained the qualifications to enter the sacred land of the immortal scripture and were also rushing back to their palaces to wait for sunset to arrive. They stared blankly at Nguyen Tan Lan, who was standing in the void. When the master sent out 2 beams of immortal light to envelop the 2 of them, it attracted the attention of these cultivators. By now, basically everyone already knew about Li Mubai's situation. He could guess the basic reason why the master had taken him away. He's really quite pitiful. It said that on the day when Tan Lan obtained the 3 treasures of the immortal scripture, the 2 of them were only Dao companions in name. It's really a pity. They just paid the price of their primordial Yin body and became true Dao companions, but they're going to be separated forever. What do you know? I heard from the disciples of the Hunyuan sect that Nguyen Tan Lan and Li Mubai had no interaction at all before entering the secret grotto heaven of the Hunyuan sect. Before that, Li Mubai was just a nobody in the Hunyuan sect, and Nguyen Tan Lan was a genius of the Hunyuan sect. It was impossible for them to have any interaction at all. But when Li Mubai entered the perverted demonic realm in the secret grotto heaven, Nguyen Tan Lan had always been by his side. Perhaps at that time, Nguyen Tan Lan saw enough benefits from Li Mubai's rise. Probably. I'm a little suspicious that Nguyen Tan Lan obtained the 3 treasures of the immortal scripture because of Li Mubai. Think about it, they were only Dao companions in name before, but after obtaining the 3 treasures of the immortal scripture, with Nguyen Tan Lan's temperament, how could she not know how great her value was? But when did she give her primordial Yin body to Li Mubai? It's obvious that Li Mubai can give her more room for improvement. And everyone saw the battle of these 9 days. It's really a changed day. What's the use of saying this? Look at her now. Does she look like she's doing this for the sake of benefits? That's true. She's really pitiful. Like this, Nguyen Tan Lan stood in the void in a daze. Her eyes were still fixed on the direction Li Mubai was taken by the immortal light, and she murmured Nguyen Tan Lan's name. Her beautiful face, which was not stunning but was very attractive, was covered with sparkling tears. Anyone could see that at this moment, Nguyen Tan Lan must be heartbroken. Moreover, she must have fallen in love with Li Mubai, and not for benefits. At least, no matter whether it was before or not, it was definitely not for benefits now. Mubai. But by Nguyen Tan Lan's voice was almost numb. She allowed her emotions to spread and her mind to be filled with his figure. The 100 years of cultivation together in the cave of the secret realm, but there was no communication. After stepping into the immortal sutra city, his subconscious dependence on her like a newborn baby. She obtained the immortal sutra magic treasure. She almost died because of Li Mubai and the fusion of yin and yang. In order to save her life, Li Mubai's empty eyes filled every corner of her mind. She had always thought that she wanted to gain more from him. She had always thought that it was a coincidence and that she was forced to give her primordial yin body to him. She did not care, but now, when the real parting was destined to be separated by thousands of galaxies, and the hope of seeing him again was so slim that it was close to none, she felt her heart ache. She knew that it was against her heartless state of mind, but at this time, she could not resist her own heart. Unfortunately, whether she had understood it long ago or now, it was meaningless. At least, that was what she thought in the depths of her heart. The ending was destined from the beginning. but her heart could never go back to the past. Humph, serves you right. A figure in the crowd looked at Nguyen Tan Lan with a little gloating. It was Zhang Chong. When he learned that Li Mubai was an outsider, he was first surprised, then excited. Especially when he learned that Li Mubai would not be able to continue staying in the vast thousand chaotic world, he was overjoyed. At this moment, after Li Mubai was taken away by the immortal light emitted by the controller, he felt even better when he saw Nguyen Tan Lan's soulless and painful appearance. Sidu Qian was rejected. I Zhang Chong may not be. After all, I am younger and have just obtained the Immortal Sutra magic treasure. My potential is endless. If I can get Nguyen Tan Lan. A crazy look flashed across Zhang Chong's face. Especially when he thought about how Li Mubai's woman would look like when he rode her under his body, he was extremely excited. He did not have the strength to compete with Li Mubai, and now he had no chance. If he could vent on Li Mubai's woman, especially on the woman who had fallen in love with him, how happy would that be? A flowing light suddenly appeared beside Nguyen Tan Lan as fast as lightning. Zhang Chong could not help it. However, although he was impulsive and irritable, Nguyen Tan Lan's strength was not something he could compete with. What he wanted to do was to take advantage of the situation. Senior Qing Lan. Zhang Chong suppressed the restlessness in his heart and said softly. Staring at Nguyen Tan Lan, whose face was covered in tears and whose eyes were glazed over, he felt more and more that if he could do it, it would be a very, very exciting thing. Don't be sad. Even without him, I, your junior brother, will take good care of you. Although I am a little weak now, I will definitely be very strong in the future. Zhang Chong said as he tried to pull Nguyen Tan Lan, who did not react at all. He did not dare to go too far in front of everyone, but it should not be a problem to take advantage of her and take her away to appease her. Perhaps if he won her favor, it would be done quickly. Scram! But at this moment, a voice suddenly broke through the air like a thunderclap. A flowing light directly blocked between Nguyen Tan Lan and Zhang Chong at an incredible speed. Huang, Brother Huang, what are you doing? Under the terrifying pressure, Zhang Chong's soul was almost shaken out by the scram, and his voice trembled as he retreated. With your face, you want to take care of Miss Ruan? Wipe your saliva and scram. If we were not in Xianjing City, you would already be a corpse. Huang Tunhua stared fiercely at Zhang Chong and said coldly. Zhang Chong's face suddenly turned ashen, and he was stunned for a full 10 seconds. He did not dare to let out a fart, and directly walked over with his head and face covered in dust. The other cultivators watched this dramatic scene unfold before their eyes. Although Zhang Chong hid it very well, when he approached Nguyen Tan Lan, most people could clearly see the lewd look in his eyes. It had to be said that this guy was really a bit of an idiot, and he did not have a brain at all. But no one expected that Huang Tianhua, the youngest monstrous genius of the Chaos Academy, would appear. Chapter 1014. Huang Tianhua's position in the hearts of the people was definitely no less than that of the 9 great evildoers. Although his current strength was not as good as the 9 great evildoers, he was a rising bright star. His future achievements might not be comparable to those of the 9 great evildoers. After Zhang Chong left dejectedly, Huang Tianhua's expression slowly changed. He turned to look at Nguyen Tan Lan with deep sympathy and heartache in his eyes. He did not disturb Nguyen Tan Lan, but stood quietly at the side, as if he was guarding her. Many of the cultivators were shocked when they saw this. They still remembered that when Nguyen Tan Lan had obtained the second Immortal Sutra magic treasure, Huang Tianhua had appeared and expressed his love in front of countless people. However, Nguyen Tan Lan had rejected him on the grounds that Li Mubai was her Taoist companion. At that time, Nguyen Tan Lan still had the body of primordial Yin. Huang Tianhua had also acted very carefree. He had not been dissatisfied with Nguyen Tan Lan's rejection. On the contrary, he had said that he wanted to make friends with Li Mubai. In the eyes of many people, Huang Tianhua was confident, and he had not given up on Nguyen Tan Lan. But now, Nguyen Tan Lan was a real woman, and Li Mubai had obtained her body of primordial Yin. Then, at this moment, why did Huang Tianhua appear again beside Nguyen Tan Lan, And why did he look at her with such a gaze? Those who could stay in the immortal Sutra city at this moment were the top geniuses of the vast thousand chaotic world. Although they knew that Nguyen Tan Lan had 3 immortal sutra magic treasures, and her aura was extremely strong at this moment, and she definitely had a very powerful future, few of them were willing to be Li Mubai's successor. Who would be able to bear such a loss of face? If in the future, when their potential was exhausted, there would be no problem in secretly dating. After all, at that time, he would definitely reap a lot of benefits from the yin and yang of Nguyen Tan Lan. However, the most devilish Huang Tianhua actually appeared beside Nguyen Tan Lan at this time, and even stared at her with that kind of gaze. Miss Ruan is my Huang Tianhua's friend. If she is willing, she will be my Dao companion, my only Dao companion. If any of you have any ulterior motives, don't blame me, Huang Tianhua, for being impolite. These words were transmitted to all of you. However, it's not that I, Huang Tianhua, want to hide anything. It's just that I don't want Miss Ruan to have any prejudice against me. Huang Tianhua suddenly glanced at the cultivators not far away and transmitted his voice to everyone's ears. He was already handsome, but at this moment his eyes were shining with cold, killing intent. He wanted to let everyone know that he was not joking, but was serious. This made everyone even more dumbfounded. In particular, some young female disciples looked at Nguyen Tan Lan with eyes that were no longer pitiful, but jealous. Why do I feel that Brother Huang doesn't seem like he's trying to obtain a greater improvement? I have the same feeling. However, for such a devilish genius, even if he's faking his emotions, we can't see through it. Perhaps he really doesn't care and has really fallen in love. Several disciples of the Chaos Academy secretly conversed. Sidu Qian clenched his fists tightly, but soon loosened them again. He knew that even without Li Mubai, Nguyen Tan Lan was not someone he could touch. It could be seen from the way the other disciples of the Chaos Academy alienated him. Mubai, T. Nguyen Tan Lan's sluggish eyes suddenly lit up, and she immediately turned into a stream of light and flew toward the palace that the disciples of the immortal scripture city lived in. Huang Tianhua was slightly taken aback by the instantaneous speed that seemed like teleportation. Soon after, Huang Tianhua quickly followed. So fast. It seems to contain the aura of the great teleportation technique. Let's go. At this time, the onlooking cultivators also left one after another and returned to their respective palaces. Mubai. When Nguyen Tan Lan appeared at the entrance of the palace, she raised the token, opened the palace door, and closed it immediately. She looked like she had lost her soul, as if she had gone crazy. Huang Tianhua watched Nguyen Tan Lan enter the palace before shaking his head and disappearing into the void. In the palace, Nguyen Tan Lan went to the cultivation room, the sacred bath, the bedroom, and the hall. Under the laws of space and time, after an unknown period of time, she suddenly burst into tears. She squatted on the ground, curled up her body, and tore at her hair. The immortal scripture's sacred ground is about to open. All disciples, please come to the City Lord's mansion immediately. The City Lord's mansion was also the mansion of the controller. The door to Ruan Qinglan's palace quickly opened. Her fine black hair was once again neatly combed and coiled up. In just half a day, her expression and gaze seemed to have changed into a completely different person. She was no longer the same person. This kind of change surprised many curious people. Even Huang Tianhua was surprised. That was because there was no longer any sadness in her eyes. Instead, there was only a kind of determination. Huang Tianhua leaped to Nguyen Tan Lan's side. Miss Ruan, thank you. Nguyen Tan Lan did not stop. Instead, she sped up and left these 2 words. Huang Tianhua frowned slightly. He paused and shook his head, tactfully not following her, even though he had the ability to. Soon, everyone arrived at the City Lord's mansion, which was shrouded in immortal light. Nguyen Tan Lan stared unblinkingly at the core of the City Lord's mansion, where the immortal light was growing stronger and stronger. Even though it was her first time here, she could be sure that it was the door to the sacred land of the immortal sutra that was slowly opening. Dao companions who wanted to travel together were already holding hands tightly. Friends who wanted to travel together were also doing the same. Miss Ruan, the pressure in the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra is very strong. If one travels alone, at least half of his energy and time will be used to resist the pressure. However, it is more important for us to comprehend the Immortal Sutra. I don't mean anything else. If you are willing, you can come with us. This way, if we take turns resisting the pressure, we will reap greater rewards. Thank you for your kindness, Nguyen Tan Lan said directly without any change in her gaze. All right, Huang Tianhua said helplessly. Buzz. An hour later, dazzling immortal light and terrifying pressure suddenly gushed out. The door to the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra had finally opened. The sacred land of the Immortal Sutra has opened. Please enter immediately. Chi 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 chi. There was no need for a reminder. Figures rushed in one after another. The moment they entered the pressure of the immortal light, they seemed to have merged into an endless whirlpool and disappeared instantly. At this moment, Nguyen Tan Lan did not move at all. She stared with wide eyes at every figure that entered the sacred land of the Immortal Sutra. Please enter quickly. You only have 10 seconds. At this moment, a stream of light suddenly descended from the void. Nguyen Tan Lan, who had released all her divine sense to sense, suddenly raised her head. Chapter 10:15. The familiar figure, the familiar face, and the familiar empty eyes flashed past. The last glance was fixed on Nguyen Tan Lan's eyes. Mubai. She did not shout or send a voice transmission. Only her eyes shone with an incomparably determined light. She suddenly chased after the stream of light and entered the entrance of the Immortal Sutra sacred land. She's truly a rare woman. What Nguyen Tan Lan did not know was that Chen Hao, who passed by in a flash, had also seen her and deliberately sized her up carefully. Nguyen Tan Lan's appearance made him sigh in admiration, making him feel even less burdened. He knew that she did not enter first because she was waiting for him to take a look. Perhaps it was just a look. Being lucky in love doesn't mean that all women will fall for him. Fortunately, it's not that bad. My worries were unnecessary. The moment Nguyen Tan Lan entered, Huang Tianhua also directly merged into the immortal light. The Immortal Sutra sacred land, unless they merged into one when entering, would be teleported to an independent area. Nguyen Tan Lan knew that that glance was their farewell. His empty eyes might not have seen her at all. She did not shout or send a voice transmission. It was meaningless. Stepping onto the peak of martial arts was still her obsession, but now she had an additional goal. Although the hope was slim, or perhaps impossible, she resolutely merged the two. This made her martial arts heart firmer, more substantial and more intense. Little did she know, they had missed it once and missed it again. One deliberately pretended to seal all her divine senses, and the other was silently played by fate, brushing past each other just like that. Good temperament. The master of the Immortal Sutra City was also paying attention to Nguyen Tan Lan's every move. If Nguyen Tan Lan's performance was too intense, he would definitely make a move. After all, if Chen Hao proposed to take Nguyen Tan Lan away at this time, he really could not refuse. That was not what he wanted. If Nguyen Tan Lan stayed in the chaotic universe, she would become a bargaining chip in the future. There was no point in leaving. Similarly, if Nguyen Tan Lan had a new Dao companion here, it would also be meaningless. This was also the reason why he didn't make a move when he saw Nguyen Tan Lan's true feelings. Such a thing might seem insignificant, but if something really went wrong, it could become the key. I hope that kid doesn't comprehend too much. The Immortal Sutra Holy Land. Even the controller, old man, only reached the 99th level. The previous controller reached the 104th level, and the previous controller reached the 115th level. How many levels are there? This was a mystery. No one knew. The uniqueness of the Immortal Scripture Holy Land was no less than that of the Hongmeng domain, which connected the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The boundless chaos world was born because of it. In the endless years until now, the highest record of comprehension in the vast thousand worlds was 115 levels. Buzz. After a terrifying distortion in space-time, Chen Hao appeared in an ice blue, beautiful, and fantastical space. However, it was a narrow, spherical space with a diameter of only 10,000 feet. The space was surrounded by azure blue like the sky and the sea. The sparkling waves were the Tao traces of the Immortal Sutra, containing 3 different kinds of pressure. This was obviously the amalgamation of the 3 great Immortal Sutras. The thick spirit chi of heaven and earth and the majestic pressure of the Immortal Sutra were not very strong for Chen Hao, but they made him excited. Almost instantly, he sensed that this was not at all comparable to the pressure of the pagoda steel in the secret grotto heaven of the Hunyuan sect. This was not about the size of the pressure, but the mystery contained in the pressure. This was the most essential mystery of the 3 great Immortal Sutras. The secret grotto heaven was obtained by the masters of the Hunyuan sect through their own Immortal Sutras. Comprehending the secret grotto heaven's pagoda steel was like catching a fish, and comprehending the 3 great Immortal Sutras of the origin was like catching a fish. Only by comprehending the origin could one comprehend a divine ability that truly belonged to oneself and was suitable for oneself. Phew. As long as I can comprehend one of the 3 Immortal Sutra Tao traces to the limit of this space, I can enter the next level. It's very simple. Although the secret grotto heaven's pagoda steel was comprehended by the masters of the past, I can more or less comprehend some of the true Immortal Sutras by tracing the source. Buzz. The space between Chen Hao's eyebrows suddenly flickered, and the spiritual altar unscrupulously bloomed. This is the aura of the Earth Desolation Sutra. This is the aura of the Heavenly Emperor Sutra. This is the aura of the Primal Chaos Sutra. This is the most basic Immortal Sutra, so powerful. Chen Hao was excited. No matter how strong his ability to trace the source was, when faced with the 3 great Immortal Sutras, Chen Hao could not directly comprehend the true Immortal Sutra from the Tao traces left behind by others. But now, the mysterious aura in front of him was the most basic origin of the 3 great Immortal Sutras. Although the first level was very weak, it was the cornerstone of the 3 great Immortal Sutras. Phew. I must do my best to improve myself in the next 1,000 years under the laws of space and time. The Hongmeng Domain, the Hongmeng Realm, the great world of Xian Di. Similarly, I can also return to the Primal Chaos Universe. And my current strength is still too weak. Boom. Chen Hao no longer hesitated. His sealed emotions gushed out from the immortal light of the Tao manifestation immortal tree in the great world of his mind, causing Chen Hao to enter a frenzied state. Chi 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 chi. Terrifying devouring power was displayed once again, but this time, Chen Hao did not blindly devour. Instead, he devoured for a period of time and comprehended with all his might for a period of time. Only by truly comprehending would he be able to enter the next level, which was even more powerful. Swallowing without thinking was not something that could be done at any time. The 10th level. Phew! In the beautiful space, Nguyen Tan Lan's eyes shone brightly, and her beautiful face shone with excitement. 300 years, 10 levels. From what she knew, Sidu Qian, who had been here many times, had only comprehended up to the 8th level. However, when she came here for the first time, she only used 300 years out of 1,000 years to comprehend the 10th level. This kind of progress could be said to be astonishing. All of this was given to me by you. But it's been 300 years. You should have reached the 20th or 30th level, or perhaps even deeper, right? I don't believe it. The peak of martial arts is elusive, but it is the goal and obsession of all cultivators. Someone will be able to achieve it. When we meet again, there is no need for me to reach the peak of martial arts. As long as I am strong enough, I can do it. What is there to fear? I can definitely do it. Buzz. Nguyen Tan Lan's body shone even brighter as she immersed herself in comprehending the 10th level. The 106th level. Nguyen Tan Lan did not know that when she entered the 10th level and guessed that Chen Hao might have reached the 20th or 30th level, Chen Hao had stepped into the 106th level like a hot knife through butter. On average, he reached one level in less than 3 years. Even Chen Hao was extremely surprised. He was not surprised by his own comprehension speed, but by the origin of the three great immortal scriptures. It seemed to originate from the primary principle of the great Tao. In the beginning, he was not sure. However, as his comprehension increased, passages of the primary principle of the great Tao appeared in his mind from time to time. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. Chapter 1016. Since Chen Hao had realized the importance of the Grand Tao, the Grand Tao outline had practically been running through his cultivation. Whether it was tempering his true essence or comprehending profound talisman markings or ultimate techniques, he only had to spare a strand of his mind to recite it, and it would allow his efficiency to increase by several times. At the beginning, Chen Hao was utterly unable to understand it. Even now, he could only comprehend a little bit. Most of the time, he knew the meaning but didn't know the reason. He only understood the literal meaning and couldn't be considered to have comprehended it at all. But now, starting from the most basic profoundness of the three great immortal scriptures, he went from shallow to deep step by step. When he comprehended a certain level, a sentence from the Grand Tao outline suddenly appeared in his mind. Moreover, it just happened to confirm his previous comprehension. Although there was still a slight discrepancy, it allowed Chen Hao to have a deeper understanding of the Grand Tao outline. It also allowed Chen Hao to be sure that the three great immortal scriptures definitely originated from the Grand Tao outline. Moreover, it was an extraordinary existence that had a profound understanding of the Grand Tao outline. Under such circumstances, Chen Hao was like a fish in water. He'd completely forgotten the passage of time, and he'd even forgotten that his body and soul were enduring more and more terrifying pressure. Especially after he arrived at the 60th level, even if it was his abnormal body and soul, the pain he endured was rather enormous. However, he didn't notice it at all, and his mind was completely immersed in comprehension. The Grand Tao outline in his mind allowed Chen Hao to comprehend the three great immortal scriptures at a shocking speed. Moreover, the three great immortal scriptures' comprehension from shallow to deep allowed Chen Hao to deepen his comprehension of the Grand Tao outline. They complemented and promoted each other. What a terrifying pressure! 300 years, 106th level. It was only when Chen Hao entered the 106th level that Chen Hao was forced to jump out from the deep level of comprehension for the first time. The terrifying pressure had practically pressed down on him to the point he couldn't breathe. His body and soul were in extreme pain. Especially after he jumped out of the selfless state of comprehension, he felt that the pressure had expanded by 10 times or 100 times in an instant. Have I reached the limit of what I can endure? Bang! Chen Hao forcefully agitated the energy, true essence, and soul in his body to alleviate the pain at this moment. At the same time, for the first time, he consciously and madly devoured the dense world energy and pressure. That's not right. At this moment, Chen Hao suddenly frowned. 106 levels, and the pressure increases with each level. It's impossible for it to increase so much all of a sudden. This is because it's beyond my selflessness. It's because I'm not focused enough. It's not because I've reached my limit. Otherwise, my soul and body wouldn't be in perfect condition. That means I'm far from reaching my limit. Thinking up to this point, Chen Hao actually retracted his essence, spirit, Zhenyuan, and soul power, allowing himself to once again fall into the terrifying pressure. Facing the pressure head-on. Chi. In an instant, Chen Hao felt that every cell in his body and every strand of thought in his soul was being crazily suppressed, as if he had fallen into a situation where he could collapse at any time. However, Chen Hao's eyes were wide open. Other than seeing himself break out in a cold sweat, there was nothing out of the ordinary. True selflessness is my true self. The current me's endurance, especially my willpower's endurance, is clearly far inferior to when I was truly selfless. Endure, I'll endure until I'm used to this degree of pain. Chen Hao put down all his thoughts and continued to stare. He didn't use the slightest bit of energy, didn't use any divine ability, and just fought against this terrifying pressure. Every minute and every second felt extremely long, but Chen Hao clenched his teeth and endured. There was no doubt that this was a crazy and unreasonable thing to do, but this wasn't the first time Chen Hao had tempered his willpower like this. Facing pain head-on was something he had done at a very low level. Now that he was in the Daluo Golden Wonderland, he was once again using the simplest, cruelest, and most effective method to destroy himself. 1 day, 2 days, 10 days, 1 month, 3 months. The pain his body and soul endured became stronger and stronger, more and more painful. After enduring for nearly half a year, Chen Hao's body and soul began to violently tremble at almost the same time, and then his mind exploded with a boom. At this moment, Chen Hao felt as if he had become an immortal. His entire body and soul were filled with endless comfort, as if all the pressure had disappeared, and there was no more pain to speak of. It was also at this moment that Chen Hao's glabella shone with a dazzling light. His soul blossomed on its own, sparkling and translucent like jade, untainted by even a speck of dust. Breakthrough. Chen Hao's blood-stained mouth slowly cracked open, revealing a brilliant smile. This was a breakthrough in willpower. Buzz. Naturally, Chen Hao entered the state of thoughtless tranquility and selflessness in an extremely relaxed manner. His entire mind was instantly integrated into the mysteries contained in the pressure of the Immortal Sutra, and he began to comprehend once more. In the blink of an eye, another 300 years had passed. Chen Hao once again jumped out of the deep level of comprehension on his own. 246th level. It's much faster than before I woke up last time. Very good, continue. With the previous experience, Chen Hao didn't even think about it this time. He retracted all his energy and faced the boundless pain head-on. This time, it took him a full 10 years to break through the limits of his willpower. Sensing the endless comfort of the bitter end, Chen Hao once again entered the selfless state of cultivation, but, boom! What's going on? When Chen Hao comprehended all the mysteries of the 3 major immortal sutras to the extreme, and thought that he was about to enter the 247th level, the space he was in suddenly surged with endless immortal light and a terrifying pressure of Tao laws. It was completely out of Chen Hao's control, and his entire body was enveloped by a mysterious force, rushing into the endless void with a boom. What's going on? Almost at the same time, in the City Lord's mansion of the Immortal Sutra City, the phantom of the City Lord was suddenly shocked. With a swoosh, he rushed out of the palace and looked at the terrifying surge of the Immortal Sutra Sacred Land's exit with a horrified expression. It had only been 6 years since Chen Hao and the others entered the Immortal Sutra Sacred Land. The entrance and exit opened at the same time, and they opened once every 10 years. It was completely out of the control of the City Lord of the Immortal Sutra City, and there had never been the slightest error. At this time, how could the exit of the Immortal Sutra Sacred Land emit such a terrifying fluctuation, as if it was about to open? It actually opened? Chi! What? The phantom of the City Lord of the Immortal Sutra City suddenly widened his eyes, looking at the figure shooting out from the exit that seemed to connect the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Li Mu Bai. What's going on? Chen Hao and the City Lord of the Immortal Sutra City looked at each other and asked in unison. How did I come out? How did you come out? The two said at the same time again. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.